Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, and McGill University in Montreal, Quebec. Two of Canada's oldest universities and two schools steeped in football tradition. Both have had legendary coaches. The late Frank Tyndall coached Queens to success in the 60s, and Frank Shag Shaughnessy coached McGill in the 20s when he introduced the forward pass to Canadian college football. While Shaughnessy was perfecting that, Queens was winning the Grey Cup, one of only two universities to win the championship. Today, Queens and McGill meet for the 165th time. It's a rivalry that goes back more than a century. Recently, Queens has had most of the success in this head-to-head battle, including last year in the conference semifinal. A controversial Queens victory as the Golden Gaels went on to capture the Vanier Cup.
My first game against McGill was here, home, and there was, like I say, the two biggest games of the year are homecoming and McGill. And there was a lot of McGill fans with their faces painted red and white, and Queens fans with their faces painted purple.
Right from the beginning of the year, everybody's talked about Kill McGill and talked about how big a game it is. And you try and take each game at a time, but you've always been thinking about the Queens game. And you're right, I've never been around to actually experience what the rivalry is, but just being in the locker room all the time and hearing people talk, you get a good idea. And they keep telling me how the fans are pretty wild down here and how they get on you, but you just have to stay focused.
Last night, Richardson Stadium was quiet, but this afternoon it's homecoming at Queens, and the Golden Gaels and Redmen will renew a rivalry that goes back a century. TSN presents CIAU football. Today's game from Kingston, Ontario is brought to you in part by Geo. Get to know Geo at a Chevrolet Geo dealer near you. And by Pepsi. Pepsi reminds you to be young, have fun, drink Pepsi. And so from Richardson Stadium on homecoming weekend at Queens, it's the Golden Gaels and the McGill Redmen in a crucial game in the Ontario-Quebec Conference on the final weekend of conference play in this conference in the CIAU. Hi everybody and welcome to Queens and the CIAU on TSN. I'm Gord Miller. Well, you couldn't ask for much more than this. A rivalry that dates back 110 years and two schools playing for their playoff lives, especially when you consider that Queens, last year's Vanier Cup champions, must win today just to qualify for the postseason. Here are the standings right now. McGill and Queens are battling for third and fourth spot, and it's crucial that the teams win today to secure a playoff position, and here's how it works. Queens must win, and if the Golden Gaels do, they'll be in the playoffs for the 17th straight year. If the Gaels lose, they are out. McGill can win or tie to clinch a playoff berth. However, if McGill loses, the Redmen can still qualify for the playoffs if Carleton beats Ottawa in the Panda game tomorrow. And joining me once again is our CIAU football analyst, Jamie Bone. Jamie, you look at this Queens University team. They lose two All-Canadians from last year. However, this is a team that seems to be much the same as last year. What's the difference?
I think a lot of difference. As you said, Gord, they've lost a lot of the veterans. But when you take a look at today's game, you know, losing those veterans aside, there's a lot of emotion in today's game. It's Kill McGill weekend. It's homecoming. A playoff game spot is on the line. So I think Queens are going to come out fired up today.
Now give us an idea of how Queens lines up.
Well, let's take a look at the quarterback situation. First of all, they lost Tim Pendergast, a 5-year veteran. They have Steve Olfen, a 4th-year player. He's kind of been up and down this year. Last week against Ottawa, only 2 of 10 in that game. They pulled him. They put in Rob Weir, backup quarterback. But it's going to be up to Olfen today to play a good game. Now, they like to get him outside a little bit as well, and he can run with it. Now, they also have, in the running game, a big change at running back. You know, John Taylor works as a guard at Old Fort Henry in the summertime. Well, he has to guard the reputation of the Queens running game this afternoon. Brad Alberg is out. John Taylor's in the backfield right now. He's going to have a good game to take pressure off of Steve Olsen.
Now, you look at McGill. This is a team that last year thought it beat Queens in the playoffs. McGill scored a touchdown here on the last play of the game that was disallowed by a penalty. And if not for that, Queens wouldn't have won the Vanier Cup. Give us an idea of how much McGill's improved this year.
Well, I think they've improved quite a bit. I think Charlie Bailey says his team continues to get better week in and week out. And all you have to do is take a look at last week's game when they beat Bishops, the #1 team in the OQIFC, 28-5. So they're a team that seems to be up and coming, and they're getting ready for the playoffs.
And you look at changes in key positions for Queens. McGill stays pretty much solid with a veteran lineup.
Yeah, they do. And their quarterback in particular, Justin Raymond, Charlie Bailey says gets better and better each week. Had a great game last week, 2 successive weeks in a row of throwing for over 300 yards. And he's a quarterback that's going to have to play a great game this afternoon for McGill to continue on their upsurge in the OQIFC. Now, they're also going to go to a good receiving core. They've got Steve Papp, but I think the guy that could be the game breaker is Alex Trepanier. He's out of Trois-Rivières. Diablos play for that team. He has the highest average, 16.9, and what they want to do is try and get him the ball deep. They'll throw the ball to Steve Papp short, but they'll try and get the ball deep to Trepanier.
These teams go back 110 years. There's all kinds of interesting stats. One of the most interesting to me is that McGill is 0-5 when you're the color commentator on their games on TSN. So with that in mind, who are you picking today?
Well, I know I'm under a lot of pressure, but I'm not listening to any of those pundits. I'm going to go today. I'm going to say, hey, it'd be tough to pick against Queens today. It's homecoming. But I think McGill is a better football team this year. I'm going to break that streak. I'm going to pick the McGill Redmen to win it.
Well, I can't go against what expects to be a crowd of in the 12,000 range. On homecoming weekend, I'm taking Queens to win at home and secure a playoff spot. We're looking forward to a great afternoon of football. Tremendous atmosphere here at this university. We hope you'll sit tight and enjoy what should be one of the great games of the year. It's a tremendous rivalry, and the opening kickoff between Queens and McGill is coming up next here on TSN. Welcome back to Kingston, Ontario. A tremendous fall day. The wind has died down. It's warm. And a huge crowd expected here on homecoming weekend at Queen's University as Queens faces McGill, and that is always something special between these two schools, who first faced each other in football back in 1884.
It really is truly one of the great rivalries in CIAU football, and when we talked to the administrators at Queens yesterday, they said the alumni side was completely sold out. They had sold close to 4,000 student tickets, and they expected to sell it over there. They had side holds about 6,000. But they seem to filter in here as the game progresses, and we can still see them filing in through the gates.
It really was something to come to this university today, driving through the campus and seeing students everywhere with their faces painted, the Queens colors on. And in a community like this, where the university plays such a prominent role, this is a very special day indeed. Homecoming weekend, and everyone here seems to be pumped up for this. And it's time now for the national anthem, and for that, here is the Queens Student Band. For their playoff lives this afternoon. The Queens Golden Gaels, as we mentioned, must win this football game just to qualify for postseason play. But Jamie, the way things have gone in the Ontario-Quebec Conference this year, you have to think that a team that makes the playoffs will have an excellent shot at winning the conference because it seems to be so wide open.
Well, I think that's the way it is right across the country this year as well, because you take a look at the Atlantic Conference with St. Mary's here, of course, in the OQIFC. You have 4 teams, possibly 5, 6 teams that can make the playoffs in the last game of the regular season.
You saw Charlie Bailey a moment ago in his 22nd year as the head coach of the McGill Redmen, and how he would dearly love to score a win here at Queens. And There's Doug Hargraves in his 18th year as the head coach of the Queens Golden Gaels.
I remember Doug Hargraves recruited me out of high school when he was at Dalhousie University back in 1974.
And we talked to Doug Hargraves about the difference between this year's team and last year's Queens club, which won the national championship.
I think there's a different feeling. I believe that they probably in the beginning felt that they could win because they were back. And very quickly found out that they couldn't win by just showing up. But then they didn't appear to respond to the challenge to the same degree that was required to come up off the ground. In all fairness, you excluded talent, but there's no question this team is not very talented in particular units, specifically on defense.
And so we're set now for the opening kickoff. The McGill Redmen will receive. And we'll start from our left. Dan Kader with the kickoff. Taken by Dimitri Haddad. And he slides up to the 35-yard line and is pushed out of bounds at about the 37, where the McGill offense will start its first possession.
Well, some different things you're going to see from the Redmen today, Gord. When we take a look at Justin Raymond. Last week's numbers, 18 of 30, really good numbers against that #1 team, the Bishop Gators in the OQIFC. But last week they experimented for the first time. They went to a spread formation or a shotgun. Raymond said before the game, he told Charlie Bailey, I don't like that, but after that kind of success he had last week, he said, hey, we got to keep that and use it a lot more.
He's got Delando Hawthorne in the backfield with him, a big bruising running back. Quickly to throw. And they go to Steve Papp, and Papp is stopped for no gain. Great work by the Queens defense there, led by defensive back Mark Morrison.
Chad Lukey, the freshman out of Regina, Saskatchewan, leads a running attack. The receivers, a good group. Alex Trepanier, of course, but Steve Papp, he could be a game breaker when they throw him those short passes. Offensive line, J.N. Lavoie replaces an injured Matthew Kivajay, who's in the hospital in Montreal, recovering from a knee injury. Val St. Germain, the left guard, is an OQIFC All-Star.
No gain on that last play. 2nd and 10 from the 35. And it's the hitch and pitch. They go to Andy Lucetta, and he's got Jerome Coulee wide open. And it's a foot race to the end zone. Coulee, touchdown. And there are no flags. So quickly, a trick play works for McGill as they go to Lucetta behind the line of scrimmage and then deep to Coulee.
And did they ever execute this beautifully? Because they set it up. They threw the little hitch to Papp the play before. This time they go to the other side to Lucetta, number 7. The quick drop, they get out to Lucetta, he throws the ball back, so he's onside. Now Coulee goes right by Braden Dent, number 5. The corner on that play. Nice job by Lucetta just to throw the ball up and let Jerome Coulee run underneath it. And now it's a foot race. Now you can see Coulee doesn't really have great confidence in his speed, so he starts to do a little bit of the weave to make sure that Braden Dent can't track him down.
That's the 3rd pass that Andy Lucetta has thrown this season. And this one goes for a 70-yard touchdown. Well, this huge crowd here at Queens is silenced, and we have an injured McGill Redmen on the play. I believe it's Dan Creefo, the right tackle.
And that would be devastating for McGill. Of course, we just mentioned a few moments ago they lost Matthew Kivajay, their all-Canadian left tackle. Dan Creefo did not play in the last game because he was coming back off a leg injury, and now he gets hurt in the 2nd play of this game. They felt coming into this season they had the best offensive line, and few people could argue, but they have just been snake-bitten by injuries this season. Dan Creefo, big 6'5", 295-pounder. You saw his brother play last night.
Rob Creefo signed with the Ottawa Rough Riders as a free agent. He's a tight end and had an outstanding night last night for Ottawa. The Rough Riders defeated again at home. Rob went to the University of Toronto, and Dan's been a standout here at McGill. And some of the fans are still filing into Richardson Stadium, and they look at the scoreboard and see their team down a touchdown already. And Jerome Coulee, with his 11th reception of the season, his first touchdown catch of the year. And wouldn't you know it, it comes from another wide receiver. Andy Lucetta has not received a touchdown pass this year, but he's now thrown one. Andy Boone puts up the convert, and very quickly, 7-0. McGill leading Queens.
And you don't think McGill want to try and silence this homecoming crowd. Now, you can tell Luchetta, you know, he's a receiver as well. He knows. He was always telling his quarterbacks, throw the ball up nice and high, let me be able to run under it. So he's aware of what kind of pass has to be thrown. And now foot race, and you can see Clouet making sure he looks over his shoulders, knows where Braden Dent is at all times, but weaves so he makes sure he gets into the end zone. Nicely executed option pass. The flea flicker, they call it.
Crevo has gone to the dressing room for McGill, so out of that excellent play comes some bad news for McGill, and this day is far from done yet. So 2 plays for a touchdown for McGill, and now Queens will get its first shot. This is Paul Kozak from the 20. And up to about the 28-yard line, and great play by McGill's special teams. As down quickly to make the tackle was Dale Bracewell.
Steve Olton, the quarterback in today's game, a bit different style from Tim Pendergast, the veteran who graduated last year. Not great numbers last week, 2 of 10. He was replaced by Rob Weir, who put in a very solid performance, but Doug Hargraves feels that his offense is geared more to Steve Olton's style of play, where he likes to get outside and run the sprint package.
1st and 10 from the 28-yard line. To the ground they go. And Paul Kozan has maybe 3 as he gets across the 30 to the 32.
Queens offensive backs. They've had a few changes, of course. Paul Kozan is the big fullback from Regina. He'll get a lot of work today. The receivers, Ed Kidd is a 5th-year veteran who leads the Golden Gaels in receiving.
Boy, Regina really has been the running back factory when you look at it. Chad Lutke from Regina, Brad Elbert from Regina, so is Paul Kozan.
And a good offensive line with Mark Robinson holding down that big left tackle spot.
A real credit to the Regina High School football system, all those great backs. On 2nd down and 7. Complete over the middle to Ed Kidd, and Kidd gets up to the 50-yard line before he is stopped there by Doug Naughty.
Now, this was a great job by Steve Olton because they were trying to hit Paul Kozan coming out of the backfield. But Kozan gets knocked down, so Olton looks back inside and hits Ed Kidd.
Ed Kidd, 5th-year player for Queens, has played quarterback for this team at times. 1st and 10 from the 49-yard line. Back to the ground to Kozan. And a gain of 4 up to about the 53.
Well, we'll see Queens run a lot inside today, and when they do it, they're an inside trapping team. So they like to pull their guards and try and get angles on people.
Just to go back to the McGill scoring drive, if you're joining us late, 2 plays, 75 yards. Jerome Coulet caught the pass, but what's interesting is he caught it from a fellow receiver, Andy Luchetta. The 75-yard score gives McGill the 7-0 lead it enjoys now. 2nd and 6, flags are down. Olton throws it up, and Kidd runs underneath it. He'll be short of the first down, but there are 2 flags down. Referee for today's game is Bob Butler.
Number 36, McGill is offside, 5 yards, still 2nd down.
Well, if you're wondering why 36, the defensive back, is offside, what they're trying to do when they see Steve Olton start to roll out, they bring up James Murphy, the halfback on that side. They rotate the secondary to the side in which the quarterback is rolling, and they bring that halfback. So he comes up to the line of scrimmage and tries to get in Steve Olton, the quarterback's face. Norm Baudry leads a pretty good force unit for the McGill Redmen. He has 3 sacks this season, and Ken Friedman lines up in the middle at linebacker. Defensive secondary, a good strong group led by Doug Naughty, the All-Canadian.
2nd and 3. And back up the middle they go to Kozan, who gets tossed around and should be short of the first down. He had to get up into McGill territory to the 51-yard line, and we'll see where they mark it. All kinds of activities here on homecoming weekend, and this is my first trip to Kingston on homecoming, and I'm going to tell you, it really is something. When you come to a college town, it really is a special feeling.
And not only this weekend, because it's homecoming, but it's that annual Kill McGill weekend, and they've been really pushing it big time this week on this campus.
3rd and a yard, and Doug Hargraves goes gambling. Olton goes straight ahead, got stood up pretty quickly, but should have the first down, and now Olton objects to the pushing and shoving from Jason Greenlees.
Quarterback sneak. We'll take a look. Jason Greenlees, number 55. I'll tell you what, Steve Alton's not going to win that battle. Greenlees, 6 feet, 227 pounds. But a good effort by the young quarterback. Yeah, the refs let them battle for quite a long time. You can see Steve Alton takes exception to Jason Greenlees being in his face.
And this will require a measurement, but I think they've got it by a foot or so.
You know, that's not a good move for your quarterback. You know, you want to make those guys in the defense, keep them as happy as possible. Don't get mixed up with those guys. Don't get them mad.
Well, Alton is not exactly a running quarterback. 9 carries for 3 yards this season. And taking on a much larger individual.
A little bit of motion in today's game.
So it's a first down, the 51-yard line of McGill. Alton to throw. Over the middle for Kidd. The pass is over his head as Doug Naughty was with him step for step.
Well, you can see what McGill are trying to do on defense right now. I mean, they're going to come after Steve Alton. They're going to say, Steve, you're going to have to beat us. We're going to bring a lot of people up to the line of scrimmage. We're going to put all sorts of stunts in front of you. We're going to bring all sorts of people. And we're going to put some pressure on you today. We want to see how you react to it.
Well, it's interesting. There have been 109 passes completed for Queens this year, but half of them to 2 players, Paul Kozan and Ed Kidd. So clearly, you focus on those 2 players in passing situations, and here's one now. 2nd and 10. Alton ran into his own lineman, got sacked. The ball came loose, but they'll rule that he was down, and guess who got in to get him? Jason Greenlees was in his face and sacked the Queens quarterback.
Yeah, you don't want to get those guys mad. Also in there, Rajon Denoncourt, who came back from an injury as well. Steve Alton gets back, set in the pocket, but you can see Denoncourt, 71, comes in, and of course Jason Greenlees, and I'm sure he's saying a few little things to Steve Alton when he gets down on the ground, like, hey, don't talk back to me. Jason Greenlees at a Clarkson Secondary School in Mississauga.
Dan Coderre into punt from his own 35-yard line. A low end-over-end check. Taken by Wes Barber, who gets up to about the 37-yard line. McGill leads it 7-0. Will return to Kingston in a moment. We're back at the campus of Queen's University. The Golden Gaels trailing McGill 7-0. And Redmen's opening possession saw them score a 75-yard touchdown as Andy Lucetta, the wide receiver, threw to Jerome Coulee on the 2nd offensive play for McGill. And we'll see if the Redmen go to a more conventional offensive scheme here. Orlando Hawthorne fights his way for 4 yards, getting across the 40 to the 41-yard line. Here's a guy who broke his ankle on the 2nd play from scrimmage last year.
Actually, it was 2 years ago, Gord. It was in this game 2 years ago. He sat out all of last season because he could not come back off that ankle injury. We saw him play 2 weeks ago against Concordia in a very cold and wet day, and he said that his ankle was bothering him a little bit, and because we had mentioned it, that it didn't look like he was 100%, but he said, hey, today it's nice and dry, great weather, I should be able to run all right.
2nd and 6. This time it's the toss to Chad Lutke. Look at the kind of room he's got. All the way up the sidelines and still going. Finally forced out of bounds at the 30 or the 42-yard line. And what a run for Chad Lutke.
Chad Lutke out of Michael A. Riffle High School in Regina. We talked about some of the great backs over there. Kozan, of course, Elberg. Now it's a foot race. He gets outside of the outside linebacker with Jamie Lewin. And you can see why this guy's very talented, reads his blocks very well. And you know, Gord, in the high school all-star game in Saskatchewan, he scored 5 touchdowns in that game and was a highly recruited player from a lot of schools.
A gain of 34 yards, 1st and 10 from the 41. Back to Lutke. Gets away from the initial tackles and gets down to the 34-yard line before he is finally stopped on the play by Jason Walker.
That was a great job there. I mean, he didn't pick up a lot of yards, but boy, that is a great job by the running back.
Gain of 8 makes it 2nd and 2, and it looks like McGill can have things either way.
Once the ball go to your left of the screen, he sees nothing here, and then he stops, kind of goes back and slides it. I mean, all great running backs have good vision, and now he puts his shoulder down on James Patterson.
This time it's to Lando Hawthorne, and Hawthorne is close to first down yardage. He had to get down to the 31-yard line. Must be demoralizing for Queens when you see the way that McGill has been able to execute every part of its offensive scheme so far.
Yeah, they're running the ball really well outside. They're starting to run it inside. I mean, they've got all their defensive backs back way off now because of that option pass, and that's the prime reason that they wanted to run that, obviously to score, but it also loosens things up. They can't play so tight. Because I think Queens feel with the defense, we heard Doug Hargraves talk a bit earlier about how they're not as talented this year as they have been in the past. They don't have great depth in the defensive line. They have to play a lot of games on defense. They have to try to confuse McGill. They have to bring a lot of people up and come after him. What a great shot of the crowd.
I think we might be hearing our first oil fi tonight. It's oil fi the Banrigan, right?
Gord, you say it better than I do. I can't speak Gaelic.
Well, Hawthorne just short of the first down. It'll be third and less than a yard for McGill. 7.5 minutes to play here in the first quarter. Hawthorne alone back in the backfield. Raymond waited a moment and jumped ahead. There was early movement, but there are no flags.
And, you know, there shouldn't even be a contest here when they're going for short, less than a yard. When you take a look at McGill's offensive line, I mean, they average about 285 pounds. And take a look at Queens' defensive line, and they're about 250, 285. Stuart Defoe is the biggest guy, but the rest of them are 220, 230. And the outside linebackers, Lewin and Johnson, are just about 200 pounds. So they do not have a lot of beef on that side of the defense.
Now the toss to Lukey. And he's brought down after a gain of about 5 at the 25-yard line. I guess, now, it's an obvious question, I suppose, but you look at all these great running backs from Regina, and I guess my question would be is, why aren't any of them playing for the University of Saskatchewan?
Well, you know, I asked Brad Elberg that last year, and O'Brien Towers kind of got on me because he's the head coach of University of Saskatchewan, because Elberg said he wasn't recruited by Saskatchewan. Towers said he recruited him. I don't know the story of that one. But Lukey did say that he was recruited heavily by U of S, but decided that he wanted to leave, and he thought McGill was a good school. And
from the shotgun, they toss to Lukey, and he's close to another first down as he gets down to the 20-yard line. Interesting play that was.
It's a nice play. They get into that pass set. They get into the spread, and then they just dish it out to the running back to the outside, Lutke, and he takes it around the corner.
Almost like the shuttle pass. We saw one of those last night in the CFL game. But the shotgun does give you a number of possibilities offensively.
Now, that's a pitch back. That's correct. You know, I'm sure that Queens are going to have to start to look at that a little bit to see where the running back lines up in relation to the quarterback. If he's behind him, you know, there's a possibility he could run the football like that. Now, if he's in front of him, they have to watch for the shovel pass. They don't want to work up the field as deep.
So far, things have gone Charlie Bailey's way. First and 10 from the 20. Hawthorne got more than you might think as he fought his way down to about the 16-yard line. Tackle made by Jay Lewin. Orlando Hawthorne, 208 yards rushing this year and a pair of touchdowns. His longest, though, has been 13 yards. So he's done a lot of banging up the middle. Picked up a couple there. It's 2nd and 8. And McGill goes back to the shotgun. Raymond to the end zone. The receiver fell. I think he was looking for Steve Papp, and Papp was tripped up along with Trepanier. Both receivers fell, and as a result, that pass sails into the end zone.
You know, even though that's an incomplete pass, I'm sure Justin Raymond is very pleased with the time that he had in order to throw that ball. He got back there, got set. They did a good job of picking up the Queens blitz.
And so Andrew Boone comes in to kick the field goal.
Andrew Boone, 15 to 23 this season, his longest 42 yards.
And if he's successful here, he'll set the team record for field goals in a season. It is good, and that's his 16th of the year, breaking the old mark by Glenn Miller. And so Andrew Boone adds the lead, and McGill leads by a count of 10-0. Nothing like a university football crowd on a beautiful fall day. And you see the student side here at Queens. And Kill McGill is the slogan here this week. So far, it's been the other way around. 10-0 McGill leads. And Queens starts from its own 35-yard line. This time the pass goes to Jonathan Taylor, and nothing doing as Jason Greenlease is again in the Queens backfield, and that'll be a loss of about 6.
You know, the big concern Queens had coming into this game is they've only scored 1 rushing touchdown this season.
In fact, running has really been a problem for Queens. You mentioned the 1 rushing touchdown and 8 fumbles by the Golden Gaels this year.
Yeah, when you think of where the rushing touchdown came, it came from backup quarterback Rob Weir in a 1-yard plunge. So that's not the kind of statistics you'd like to have for your running game.
Well, clearly this is a team that misses Brad Elberg, the Vanier Cup MVP, the man who did everything for this team last year. Outstanding receiver, great running back, kickoff returner, punt returner. And with Elberg out of the lineup with an injury, it would appear for the rest of the season, Queens is really missing a key part of the offense.
And I think another thing, Gord, is that, you know, when you're Vanier Cup champions and they're champions of the OQIFC as well, I mean, you're a target. Everybody wants a piece of you. Everybody gets ready to play their best game against you. And if you're not ready because you've inherited a spot on the offensive line or in the defensive line or anywhere in the team, you know, those guys want to knock your head off.
Loss of 6, 2nd and 16. Draw play to Taylor. Got a lot of it back, but not enough. Maybe 11 up to the 40-yard line. Taylor in his 2nd year with Queens and trying to pick up the slack left by Brad Elberg.
This is the kind of play that Queens like to run. You know, it's called a trap. They try to bring these guys. Now they're going to take this guard. They're going to pull them out in here, and they're going to trap right in here, and the running back's going to take it up here. So if we can just run it. Watch Scott Gray, the left guard, number 44. They come inside. The tackle comes down. And then, actually, there's no one there to trap. 42, Reisher takes himself out of the play, and they run it up the hole.
There's butt high. Taken by Steve Papp. And Papp got a couple of yards on the return and then got drilled as he tried to bring it out. Good special teams play was made by John Thaler.
And you know, Steve Papp is one of the most explosive players in the CIAU. He leads everybody in all-purpose yards. He's a great kickoff returner, punt returner, receiver. He even runs the ball every now and then. And he's the leading receiver on this McGill football team with 28 receptions. And maybe the smallest player in the CIAU at 5'6", 143 pounds.
1st and 10 from the 30. The Redmen have scored on each of their first 2 possessions. Here they go again on the option pass. This time it's broken up, and is it intercepted? No catch, they'll say. Joel Dagnoni was there. So they toss the ball out and try the throw, but this time nothing doing.
And you know, it's tough to fool a team twice so early. I mean, you're stung once, and plus, he was hit pretty hard as he was trying to throw the football. Right there, really didn't get off a good throw. Joel Dagnoni, the safety, coming across. Almost intercepting it for Queens.
Dan Tronick, the running back, trying to throw that one up. So we'll go back to the drawing board. 2nd and 10 from the shotgun. Raymond looking over the top, and look at that catch made by Steve Papp. He almost fair caught that pass as he ran underneath it and got the first down yardage.
And you know, Queens are playing man coverage totally right now, and that's a great look for the quarterback. If you're Justin Raymond, you don't have to worry about zones and throwing into them or leading guys out of them. You just have to look at one man and go after him. You can see James Patterson, the defensive back on Steve Papp.
A gain of 21 yards makes it 1st down for McGill from the 46-yard line. They fake inside, Raymond off balance, and really unable to get that play started as Mark Johnson was in the backfield quickly to make sure that Raymond wasn't going anywhere.
But Gord, if you want to compare, make certain comparisons between Queens from a year ago in the Vanier Cup season and also this year, you just have to take a look. You know, 8 interceptions, or excuse me, they've had only 4 interceptions this year. Last year at this time, they had, I believe it was 21 interceptions going into this game. So turned for the worse for the Queens Golden Gaels.
2nd and 15. Again looking over the top, and again the catch is made. Jerome Coulet, the man who caught the 75-yard touchdown pass earlier, hauls this one in and is brought down at the 38-yard line.
Well, you know, Queens feel that they're going to have to try and get pressure on Raymond, and you can see Raymond just sitting in the pocket, no pressure at all. They're playing man coverage in the secondary, and I'll tell you what, if you cannot get to the quarterback and you're playing man in the secondary and he has time to throw the football, a fifth-year quarterback is going to burn you all day long.
Gain of 26 yards and another first down for McGill at the Queens 37. Back to the ground. Lutke gets away from the initial tackle and battles to get a couple and really had to fight for a hard 2 yards. Tackle on the play made by linebacker Tim Ware. They'll call it a gain of 2, make it 2nd and 8. And what's been most impressive to me is the way a 2nd and long McGill's been able to get first downs at will.
And, you know, when you take a look at Chad Lukey, doesn't he remind you of a former McGill player that is now playing in the CFL? Reminds me a lot of Michael Souls when Michael Souls was in college.
Raymond over the top. Flags are down as the pass was intended for Alex Trepanier, and he got tied up with the defensive back James Patterson. And we'll see what the call is, but I believe it's pass interference against Queens.
Definitely pass interference against Trepanier. He comes up with a great catch.
24, Paul. Pass interference. 24, Queens is declined. First down.
Alex Trepanier, the receiver they like to go deep to. He is the best average this year. 1 touchdown pass receiving.
Well, since Trepanier hung on, though, declined the penalty. Aaron Campbell was in on the coverage, and he's the man who got called for interference. But it's 1st and goal McGill from the 7. And the Redmen in danger of blowing this game wide open. Now it's the reverse. And here comes Steve Papp, untouched for the touchdown. Everything's going right for McGill. And the convert can make it 17-0. They've done it every way you could possibly imagine. Gadget plays, reverses, you name it.
Okay, let's take a look at it here. You're going to have all the flow, you know, starting to come in this way here. And watch these guys here. These are the keys. These guys all flow here, and Papp is going to come across the formation. Can you roll it? Okay. Now watch 48. See, everybody's going all this to the right, and then Papp comes around. You don't even have to bring anybody out there to block anybody because you're doing it totally on deception.
And the convert from Andrew Boone is good, and it is 17-0 with 12 seconds to play in the first quarter. Well, it looks like McGill might be about to break out of the Jamie Bone jinx.
No, hold it. I picked them today. Now, you have to understand.
That was the problem in all those other games.
That's what it was. That's right. I never picked McGill to win in any of those 5 games, and Sports Information Officer Earl Zuckerman made it plainly clear to me before the game that I had yet to pick McGill. That did not influence my decision, by the way, today, Gord.
Although you are susceptible to peer pressure.
That's right. Keep those cards and letters coming.
Yes. The student side is getting a little quiet here at Richardson Stadium.
Well, I see a lot of them are still filtering in. I'm sure they must be shocked when they see the score is 17-0 for the McGill Redmen.
Mentioned some of the taunting that has gone on here this week. I saw one of the great taunts at a game a couple weeks ago, Western playing Guelph, and the sign at Western said, "My maid went to Guelph." Nothing like a little rivalry to get people going. See what Queens can get going here. Kickoff is taken by Rob Weir. Weir reverses his field, but actually lost a couple of yards doing it. He's dragged down at the 27-yard line. Tackle was made there by Chad Lutke. 6 plays, 80 yards. This time the possession just over 3 minutes, and Steve Papp goes in from 7 yards out on the reverse. And I don't know if McGill in its wildest dreams could have imagined that its offensive game plan would work as well on all cylinders as it has today. Usually you wait to see what the defense takes away from you, and so far Queens has been unable to take anything away. Olsen now. to the sidelines, and leaping up was the wide receiver Paul Olsen, his brother, trying to make the catch, but Jamie Murphy breaks it up, and that is the end of the first quarter. And it was all McGill as the Redmen lead 17-0. We're back with the second quarter from Richardson Stadium in just a moment. Well, we mentioned Brad Elberg earlier out of the lineup for Queens, but what a year he had last year. The Vanier Cup MVP. Also had a tryout with the Philadelphia Eagles of the NFL, and we talked to him about that.
Well, when I went down to Philadelphia, I decided before I went down that I wasn't going to defeat myself mentally before I went down. I thought that was really important. So when I was taking a handoff from Randall Cunningham or discussing the offense with Herschel Walker, I tried to, I was there because they brought me down because they thought I had a chance to make the football team. So I tried to keep in my mind that I wouldn't have been there if I didn't belong there. And truly, I didn't feel out of place when I was down there. It's unfortunate to have it pulled away from me because of a contract dispute or, like I said, a bureaucratic mess. So I would like to see what would have happened. But, if it's in the cards, maybe it'll happen another time.
And Brad Elberg joins us now in the booth here at Richardson Stadium. What do you think of what you've seen so far today?
Well, I was hoping to get off to a bit better start than this. I'll have all sorts of time for the ankle to heal if they don't crank it up here pretty quick.
Brad, let me ask you, when you went to the Philadelphia Eagles, they seem to have signed you based on your special teams play. Yet when you went up to Saskatchewan, Don Matthews said he let you go because you didn't have experience playing special teams. But what's the story there?
I don't know. Yeah, that was one of the big reasons that Philadelphia was interested in me, was that they saw some special teams tape. And as it turned out, my special teams play wasn't quite what Saskatchewan expected it to be, and that was the only evaluation at the time that counted. So
Steve Olsen completes to Paul Kozan for a Queens first down, and we'll continue our discussion with Brad Elberg after a gain of about 16 yards.
Well, Steve Olsen trying to run some play-action pass and then throw it to the backside to Paul Kozan, who's coming out of the backfield. And that results in really one of the first plays that Queens has shown us today, that they can move the football effectively.
First and 10 from the 44-yard line. Olsen goes back to the air. And quickly looking inside, and a great catch is made there by Ed Kidd. Kidd with a leaping grab gets Queens another first down and some momentum. Brad, you were released by Saskatchewan earlier this year. What are your plans for next football season?
Well, right now, I haven't had much of a chance to look beyond the Queens season. I've spoken to all my managers trying to turn this thing around right now. I guess I have to wait and see when our season's over and see what kind of options I have and go take it from there. So I'm not really all that sure.
Has it been disappointing for you this season with what happened in Saskatchewan?
Oh yeah, I guess anytime you set out to do something and I didn't complete my goal, I'm certainly disappointed. But wait and see. I look at it as more of a roadblock rather than an end to a goal. So
Dan McCullough hauls in the pass, and all of a sudden Queens is rolling here. How do you explain this?
Well, I'm staying up in the broadcast booth. It's certainly going better when I'm up here than when I was down on the sidelines.
This is a great job by Steve Olsen right here. I mean, this is a great pass in between to Dan McCullough, in between two defenders of Redmen.
A lot of talk about coming off the Vanier Cup season. What's been the biggest difference between this year's Queens team and last year?
Well, I think it was really important for everybody on the 93 team to realize 92 was a fantastic season, but it ended at the Vanier Cup. So we haven't spent a whole lot of time comparing the two teams. Obviously, we're not quite as successful as we would have liked this year.
Here's Ed Kidd with a big reception all the way down to the 5-yard line. And a gain of 25 yards, and I think Doug Hargraves is going to want you to stay here for quite a while.
He's not going to want me back even I get my ankle rehab. He's going to say, stay up there. They're doing all right.
Well, Ed Kidd is the leading receiver on this Golden Gaels football team, and Steve Olsen does a nice job of staying in the pocket and throwing the ball outside as Ed Kidd runs a seam, and Kidd goes way up high for the football to get it into his hands and comes down. I'm sure McGill are a little bit shocked here right now, thinking that they had this game fully in control. They have called a timeout, I believe. Ken Friedman makes his way over to the sidelines.
Nothing as well. We'll go over and discuss it with the coaching staff, including offensive coordinator Bob Howes, former CFL great. Here's the numbers from the first quarter. McGill with 5 first downs, 122 yards passing, and of course 75 of those yards came on that one play where Andy Lucetta, the wide receiver, threw the pass, and just 4 net yards for Queens.
I think Queens only had the ball twice, 2 possessions in the first quarter. Now, Brad, you're in this situation. What kind of a play call do you think Doug Hargraves or Bob Howes is going to make?
I'm looking for a 90 series pass, something short, some kind of 3-step drop. We'll see.
And there's the results of the first 2 possessions by the Gaels, and it has been all McGill here thus far on homecoming weekend. at Queens. And the crowd anxious to get something to cheer about as the Golden Gaels try to climb back into this football game. First and goal. The ball spotted at about the 4. To the ground. And not much for Taylor, who is dropped for no gain. What's with all these running backs from Regina, Brett?
I don't know. I guess we decided to finish up our high school careers and get out east and play some football. I don't know what it is. Paul Kozan and myself, and Luke is doing a really good job at McGill from what I understand this year.
That must be some high school football league you've got up there.
Good running backs.
They'll call it a gain of 1, make it second and goal from the 3. Taylor is the lone back in the backfield. He gets the call. The ball comes loose, and McGill has it. Taylor unable to hang on to the football, and the Redmen come up with it. The recovery, I believe, is made by linebacker Mark Reeser. And what a bad break for Queens after an impressive drive all the way down to the 3-yard line. John Taylor loses control of the football.
It's gap control defense. All these guys are trying to control the gaps, trying to free up the linebacker, St. Ange. They're trying to get the ball in here, and St. Ange comes across and collapses inside, as well as Friedman. Right here, there's Carl St. Ange. Actually, it's Mike Germain who comes across as well and helps out. Loses the football. Great job from the middle linebacker.
Now from the end zone, Raymond looking deep, has Trepanier, and Trepanier had the ball for a moment, but couldn't make the catch. And back on the coverage was Aaron Campbell. And here's another look at the running play. Taylor fighting for the end zone, and as so often happens, the ball flies loose. And timeout is called by Queens.
You know, one thing I do like about McGill so far in this game, Gord, is their aggressiveness. I mean, they're really trying to go after things, making some big plays. I think your biggest play in the football game has to come when you're in the shadow of your own goal line. Go for the deep ball. Go for the deep pass. Those are the kind of things that can break a team's back.
Well, I guess if you're on the Queens side, you say you hold them here, hope to get a good return, and you're right back in scoring position. But the turnover by Queens at the goal line is crucial in this football game.
You take a look at Bob Mullins, the defensive coordinator for Queens, talking to Joel Dagnoni and Todd Volks. Bob Mullins played in 1978 for the Queens Golden Gaels, and they won their first Vanier Cup.
The Redmen have scored on every possession so far in this football game.
And they've driven the ball to do it.
Field position is a problem here, though. Second and 10 from their own 2. And Raymond is back in the shotgun. Looking over the middle, has a man, completes it over there to number 89, Jay McCarg, the tight end. And that's a big first down for McGill.
You know, it's so funny that Justin Raymond did not like the shotgun initially, or the spread formation. Now he's just loving it. I mean, he's getting back there. He's a big, tall quarterback, 6'3". He can see over the end, over the line. So it was a nice strike here to Jay McCarg, who had, coming into this game, had 19 receptions, a former University of Waterloo football player, transferred to McGill.
Justin Raymond, the third-ranked passer in his conference, but 10th in the nation. On first down, over the middle again, and Papp almost got nailed by his own man, Jay McCarg, on the crossing pattern over the middle.
That's classic. When you saw those two guys standing side by side, I mean, you got Jay McCarg, who's close to 6'5", and Steve Patt, who's 5'6". Mountain in the valley.
And Papp pulled up for fear of running into the giant tight end.
That's right. He's a smart football player.
There's one thing to take it for the team, but you don't want to take it from the team. Second and 10 from the 19. Bad snap, and Raymond has to fall on the ball on second down, so it'll finally be a punting situation for McGill, and Andrew Boone will do something other than kick converts and field goals. And I suppose that's one of the reasons Justin Raymond doesn't like the shotgun.
Especially when the ball's lying on the ground. Justin Raymond talking to his center. Chuck Colson in there playing at center.
As we pointed out last year, not related to the Watergate co-conspirator. So Boone now to punt from his own goal line. And we'll see what kind of field position Queens can get. A low driving kick. Kozan from the 55. And tackled at about the 42-yard line, so Queens will have good field position when we return to CIAU football here on TSN. Welcome back to the world's largest rugby scrum. It's homecoming weekend at Queen's University. The Golden Gaels trailing McGill 17-0. We've got last year's Vanier Cup MVP Brad Elberg with us up in the booth. And Brad, I suppose if you're Doug Hargraves, you're telling your team to approach this thing slowly because a comeback is not out of the question.
Well, absolutely. If they score 17 points in a quarter, I'd like to think that we could score 17 in the last 3 and hold them, you know.
Is Queens the kind of team that can score quickly?
I think we have the potential to do so. Exactly. I prefer to be playing with a 17-point lead, but...
Got a man open.
Go.
All the way down to the 1-yard line.
So, yeah, we can score quickly.
They can certainly get things done through the air quickly. A gain of 23 yards to Paul Kozan. And what a throw by Oakham.
That was a nice throw because he threw it up nice and high and allowed Kozan to adjust to the football. McGill, you mentioned just a few moments ago that Ed Kidd and Paul Kozan are the 2 big receivers for Queens, and Kozan lines up as a running back.
First and goal from the 2. Oakham will try it himself. The official says touchdown. Now, the one official on the goal line says touchdown, the other says second down. And they're going to have a look at this and talk it over. The side judge on the goal line said that Oakham got in. And Bob Butler in the white hat will convene a conference here to decide if Queens is on the board.
Well, I think what the official might have been signifying that it was a second down signal and not a touchdown signal.
Second down, no touchdown.
So Oakham is ruled as not being in, and Bob Butler overrules the side judge, so it's now second and goal from the 1. Straight ahead, and I don't think he got there that time either, and look who's in there to make the play, Jason Greenlees once again. This guy's been all over the field today.
The Carl St. Ange, number 51, and Mark Duman sitting there. I tell you what, when they get the low surge, Steve Othen has to stay very low. You can't get up high with a guy like Friedman.
Now third and goal from the 1. Remember, on their last possession, the Golden Gaels fumbled at the 3. This time he sprints out. Foot race to the end zone, and Oakham is stopped. What a tremendous defensive play. Franz Wellington, the defensive back, number 70, jumped up to help out, along with Doug Naughty.
Doug Naughty, you can tell why Doug Naughty is an all-Canadian right there when he came up and put this great hit on Steve Othen. Again, they try and get outside and get around the corner now. Looks like Othen's got running room here, but watch number 30 come up into your screen right there. Bang! Puts the shot on him, and Franz Wellington finishes him off, but this is a great stick. Now you're going to see a good hit right here. He's leaning into the end zone. Boom. Boy, I'll tell you what, he just stopped like he hit a brick wall.
So 2 opportunities for Queens to score inside the 5, and the Golden Gaels come away with nothing. Raymond again goes deep. And Jerome Coulee dives for it, but can't make the catch. There is a flag down in the end zone. But the key play is the defensive stand made by McGill. Naughty jumps up, and Wellington makes sure that the ball carrier Othen can't get into the end zone.
And you're the key there for Naughty is he never allowed Othen's shoulders to get square to the goal line. He never got turned up so he couldn't fall in or go over him. He always kept him to the side. And that's why it's so important, you know, when you're playing wide receiver, that you have to go down there and you have to block people. You have to put them on the ground.
The penalty is against McGill, and it's a safety. Well, this is an interesting call by Bob Butler and the crew. It's against McGill, and it's an automatic safety. Let's see what Bob calls. So it's holding in the end zone, and that is a safety now, and so as a result, Queens is on the board in somewhat unconventional fashion. Let's see if we can see it. I think they got the right tackle, but it's hard to tell. There it is, Val St. Germain on the left side of your screen with the face mask. And that's the call, so Queens is on the board trailing 17-2.
And the reason they call it, Gordy, was first down and 10 on the 1. You get a penalty in the end zone holding, what can they do? And well, that's what they do, they give them a safety.
There are a number of rule differences between the CIAU and the Canadian Football League, and there's one of them. Here's Kozak. Takes the kickoff as Suruma gets up to the 41-yard line. Queens gets the ball back at the 40-yard line, but if you look at it, if McGill had been stopped, the Golden Gaels would have had the ball inside McGill territory.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to see. You know, I'm not sure really Queens might not have thought about it because they could have declined the penalty.
But I guess when things have been going the way they have so far, you take the points any way they'll come. So first and 10 for the Gaels from the 41-yard line. 8:20 to play here in the second quarter. The toss to Taylor. Taylor gets outside, gets a block, and gets up to about the 48-yard line. Call it a gain of 7.
Yeah, it was a great block there on Doug Noddy, who we just saw a few moments ago make a great play in the goal line.
Well, Brad Elberg's up here with us. Brad, what do you think of this turn of events for Queens? Twice inside the 5-yard line and no point.
Yeah, you got a first down and goal. You have 3 cracks at it from the 1, and you don't put it in. That's unacceptable. We're going to have to turn that around. You're certainly not going to be able to win many football games with that kind of success when you get inside the red zone.
Well, Brad, we thank you for joining us here, and you've been a good luck charm for your team, at least in terms of drives. And we'll let you get back to your seat and enjoy the rest of the football game, and good luck with your football future.
Thanks very much.
Brad Elberg, our guest up here, and he'll go down now to see what Queens can do here on second down. They give to Paul Kozan, and he'll be close to the first down, but should be a little bit short.
Nice job by Ken Freeman, the middle linebacker. They're trying to run trap inside again. This time they try and run it to the left, where they bring Bryce Ivanchuk across the trap here. You can see right there, but Freeman does not get trapped. The tackle cannot drive him by the hole. He steps up hard.
Well, Kozan was a long yard short of the first down, so it's a punting situation for Hargraves and the Golden Gaels. And Kader. The punt from his own 35. A low tumbling kick taken by Steve Papp, and Papp got maybe a couple to the 27-yard line. 7:04 to play here in the second quarter, and these two teams playing for their playoff lives. So far, it's been McGill that has come up with most of the answers. And if the first quarter belonged to the Redmen offense, you'd have to say the second has belonged to the McGill defense.
Yeah, their defense is really playing quite well, and a lot of times, you know, your defense always is overshadowed by your offense. I think that might have even been the case last year with the Queens Golden Gaels in their championship season.
First and 10 from the 32 for the McGill Redmen. Raymond again from the shotgun. Screen pass to Chad Lukey. Lukey had blockers. Aaron Campbell comes up to make the stop, and as he does, a flag comes down. And referee Bob Butler's had a busy day. And we'll see what his call is.
We got an illegal substitution, 24 red, 10-yard penalty, first down repeated.
So Alex Trepanier is in the game illegally.
Well, I think what happened, Gord, is you watch the officials. They have a gate system, the side judges. When they put up the gate, they put their hands out to the side. No players were allowed to come into the field at that time. And I think Trepanier came onto the field after the gate had been put up. And so therefore he is illegal, cannot be in the football game.
And he's not in there now. First down and 20. Draw play. Lukey gets past the original line of scrimmage up to the 35. A gain of about 12 will bring up 2nd and 8. And Chad Lukey's having himself some kind of day.
This is a nice job by Lukey because now he gets Todd Volks one-on-one on the field, and they always say when you're a running back and you come up against a defender, it's up to you to beat him one-on-one. And he does a nice job of it there.
Joel Dagnoni in to make the stop. And again, we've got a late substitution and a timeout called by Queens. So the Gaels want to talk it over on the sidelines. Jamie, they're towing your car away.
Or what's left of it.
Is there room for golf clubs in that thing?
Yeah, right in the back. Just lift up those solar panels.
That is a solar vehicle being displayed here on Engineering Week. And there are plenty of engineers involved in this football game. Of the 8 offensive linemen who are dressed for Queens today, 5 are engineering students. And look at Chad Lukey, 65 yards already. And we've got 5:44 to play in the second quarter. So it's 2nd and 8 for McGill from the 35-yard line. Raymond again from the shotgun. Jerome Coulee was the intended receiver, but I think Raymond thought he was going to break it over the middle. Coulee just kind of went up the sideline, and as a result, the pass falls incomplete.
Well, Raymond is getting the kind of coverage he wants. You know, they're coming after him. They brought Todd Volks that time. They're bringing defensive backs. You can see Steve Papp talking to his quarterback saying, I thought I was doing a post, and he thought I was doing an out, and
I think we'll go over and talk it over for a while.
That's right.
Andrew Boone back to punt. 17-2 is the score here in the second quarter. And you get the sense that if Queens could just punch it in offensively, it would give the Gaels a gigantic boost. And the Gaels have it back as Mark Morrison gets the good return at the 50-yard line. It will return to Kingston in a moment. The Purple Man is here. Wouldn't be complete without him. And right now, the Queens fans just trying to keep themselves occupied as McGill has dominated this football game.
You know, I think that stuff wears off by the time he graduates. He's only a sophomore.
I don't think he's painted. That's the problem. He might just be cold. Actually, pretty nice day here. It's been windy in this part of the world for the last few days, but it's a gorgeous day here. 1st and 10 from the 50 for the Golden Gaels. Kozan looks like he wants to throw. Quick toss to Taylor. So it works for McGill. Queens goes to it and gets all the way down to about the 39-yard line. And some of the best passes in this game have been thrown by non-quarterbacks.
Well, what's nice about the play is that they have a guy going deep, and instead of Kozan throwing it deep, he dishes it out to Taylor in the flat. Kozan, nice job just dumping it out there, and then he gets it to Taylor.
That's tough to ask a running back to do that. Run to his left when he throws right-handed.
Absolutely.
But he made a nice toss, and it's a first down inside McGill territory at the 39-yard line. Back to Kozak. Room to run. Still going. Finally brought down at the 24-yard line. Wes Barber, the defensive back, stepped up to make the stick, but not before Paul Kozan had the first down.
Okay, they counter tackle trap. They're going to take these two guys across, bring them right across the formation. And then you give the ball into here to the backfield, right in here.
It's a little Washington Redskin play, isn't it?
Counter gap. And then when Kozan gets the ball in the open field, he's a dangerous ball carrier.
This is Kozan again, down to about the 16-yard line. Call it a gain of perhaps 8. Well, here we go again. Queens mounts a good drive. The question is, once they get inside the 5, what will they do with it?
You know, how big is that getting stopped on the 1-yard line now?
How about the fumble at the 3? If Queens punches those in, it's a 17-14 football game. Here it is 2nd and 4. Both in the throw. Looking for Ed Kidd. The pass bounces up but falls incomplete. There was a crowd of McGill defenders around it, including Doug Naughty.
And you know, I think that was actually a play that Jason Greenlees breaks up, number 55 from McGill. He gets right in Steve Olton's face. Steve Olton does not, cuts off his vision, does not have a great sight line to Ed Kidd. Therefore, he can't see the other defensive backs in the area.
So Doug Hargraves will have to try for the field goal here. Rob Weir, who's 5 for 9 this season, will come in to attempt the field goal. Weir, the backup quarterback for the Gaels. This attempt will come from the 24-yard line.
Well, I'm sure McGill are aware that Weir is the backup quarterback and looking for any gadgets.
And here it comes. A fake field goal. Chris Gear, the holder, down to the 6-yard line and has the first down. Chris Gear, the wide receiver, is the holder. Rob Weir, the backup quarterback, is the kicker, and that gives you all kinds of things you can do.
Direct snap to the holder, of course, then he spins out and comes back. All sorts of options. He has a man downfield that he can throw it to. You see Doug Naughty there. Now, Naughty has to come off the man and make the tackle, but that's after he had the first down.
Well, we've seen a halfback option pass on this drive, a fake field goal. I wonder if we'll see something we haven't yet seen from Queens, the touchdown.
You take a look at Chris Gear, the holder, is also a wide receiver. His father used to be an offensive line coach at Bishop, so he is aware of the OQIFC.
1st and goal now from the 8. And this has been the problem area for Queens. Taylor. Across the 5 and down to about the 4. So they're inside the 5 for the 3rd time in this football game. Doug Hargraves goes gambling. Hargraves known as a pretty conventional football coach, but the fake field goal may be a key turning point. Call it a gain of 4, 2nd and goal from the 4. This is clearly 3-down territory for the Gaels. Taylor. Touchdown. No question about it this time. So Doug Hargraves makes a field goal and finally sees his team punch it in.
Good surge by the offensive line. You can see everybody moving backwards.
Weir with the convert. And they're singing a Queen. Will kill me for the way I say this, but the best I can do in Gaelic is oil fi na bandrigan.
And you said it with such a great accent.
Kickoff is taken by Dan Cronick. Chronic gets it out to about the 33-yard line. And here's another look at the touchdown by Taylor.
Now the key to this play here, Gord, is number 71, Denoncourt. He's normally a down lineman. Look, he's in a two-point stance, and they're going to get a good block on him right here. They give the ball to Taylor. He just takes it right into the end zone. He's not used to playing in a two-point stance. And you can see he gets driven back off of the football.
So it's 17-9. Queens right back in it. Here's the toss to Lukian. He is stacked up this time. And now you can see that the crowd has the players fired up, and Tim Ware jumped up to make the play.
Charlie Bailey told us at the beginning of the game he wanted to try and keep this crowd out of it. He's been in too many of these games between Queens and McGill to know that this crowd can be so vocal and they can really change the emotional aspect of this football game.
A loss of a yard brings up 2nd and 11. And suddenly McGill, which had been able to move the ball at will in the first quarter, desperately needs a first down. And Raymond is sacked. And look out, here comes Queens. Jay Lewin got in quickly to put the pressure on. And then Mark Johnson finished him off. And quickly, McGill will have to give the ball back.
This is why Queens last year, I think, went to a Vanier Cup, because of these two guys right here. Johnson and also Jamie Lewin, the two rush ends or linebackers. Not very big, but they rush the passer. Lewin's a 4'6", 40 man, so he can get up the field in a hurry. Johnson, he already has 2 sacks this year. That's his 3rd.
And Mark Morrison, the halfback, was also up to help out with the pressure as they came in with a halfback blitz. Boone with the punt. Morrison takes it at his own 50. And doesn't get much, a return of maybe a couple, but Queens has the ball back at its own 53-yard line with 1:10 to play in the first half. Queens finally punches it in. A drive that took just under 3 minutes, 7 plays, and they finally found a way to score from inside the 5.
And Gord, you know, we talked a bit earlier about this crowd, how it continues to build, and they are still filing in for this football game with 1:10 left in the first half.
Some of them just woke up.
23, 28, 33, 38, and 43.
And here comes Taylor. And Taylor gets inside McGill territory to the 43-yard line. A gain of 12 and a first down for Queens. See some of those fans continuing to file in.
You know, a nice job downfield here as Taylor takes it up the field. Now Ed Kidd gets a great block, number 20 right there. Now Paul Olton, first-year player, if he gets a block there on Franz Wellington, this is the touchdown. He misses him, and that's a little bit of the inexperience, I think, of wideout first-year player Paul Olton not taking out the receiver. You know, they always talk, coaches, you cannot play 10-man football.
Jason Greenlees, who's had an outstanding game at rush end for McGill, leaves the game shaken up. That's a couple of times that he's been hurt. Bishops leads Concordia 17-0 at halftime. Bishops upset by McGill last week. 45 seconds to play, first half. Olton is drilled just as he releases the football, and the pass falls incomplete. Eric Zeventine got in quickly, and Norm Beaudry was also in to help make the stop. And there they are, the leaders of tomorrow. Yeah.
Maybe your leaders, not mine. You see that one sign, street party?
Yeah, we'll be there. Look out, Olton's under pressure again. Norm Beaudry chasing after him, but he gets the pass away and complete. Ed Kidd. How big is that?
Huge play and great poise by Steve Olton, knowing that Beaudry is barreling down on him.
Wow.
Beaudry comes from that backside linebacker spot, follows him all the way across the field, but Olton delivers a rocket. So tough, right-handed quarterback throwing left is Beaudry in his frustration. Knows the ball's relief, but says, hey, I just want to let you know that I was there.
A gain of 16, and the penalty against McGill has declined. 32 seconds to play first half. First and 10 from the 27. Olsen to the end zone. As a man, flags are down in the end zone. He was looking there for Paul Kozan, and there is a flag in the end zone.
Pass interference against McGill. It does not take the ball to the 1-yard line. It is only a 15-yard penalty.
Here's Bob Butler with the call.
Number 36, McGill, pass interference, 15 yards from the line of scrimmage, first down.
Jamie Murphy is called for pass interference. Now that will put the ball at the 12-yard line with 20 seconds to play.
And you know, what a great pass. Look at the height. I mean, it goes right out of your screen and then it drops straight down. And you know, Murphy cannot even make the play on it. So he has to interfere. I think he face guards Paul Kozan.
So first and 10 from the 12. Olsen to the end zone. And his brother Paul is close, but brought down at the 1.
With 16 seconds left in the first half. Now, Queens have time to huddle here if they wanted to get one last playoff, but they obviously want to give it more than just one frac.
First and goal from the 1. Olsen straight ahead, touchdown. And here come the Golden Gaels. They spring to life in the final 3 minutes of the football game. Of the half, rather. Don't want to call this thing over yet. We've got a long way to go. Boy, it looked early on in the first quarter like McGill had this thing well in hand. Now, Doug Hargraves initially said kick the single point, but now I believe Queens will go for 2.
Good call by Queens coach Doug Hargraves.
Down 17-50. They get one crack from the 5.
Now I think what you'll see here is some kind of sprint action to either the right side. See Steve Olsen, or I think it's McGill now is called the timeout. And Ed Kidd, just a minute ago, is trying to get this crowd into it. I don't think he has to even do anything.
His brother Paul for the first down. Steve Olsen takes it in for the touchdown.
The boards are in the end zone, though. Well, the boards are in the end zone. They're only at 5. It'll be in there.
And those McGill cheerleaders facing a hostile crowd. So a 2-point try from the 5-yard line. My goodness. We've had a little bit of everything in this first half. Olsen to the end zone for 2. Kids got it. And they'll say he made the catch. Kidd brought it down. The ball came loose, but they'll say he made the catch. It's a 2-point convert. It's a tie game.
What a comeback. Again, play action. Steve Olsen looking for Ed Kidd the whole way. Ed Kidd goes up to protect the ball.
And a good call by the official.
Good call. Both feet came down.
Well, the McGill Redmen have to be reeling at this point. I think they had their playoff tickets booked at the end of the first quarter. 17-0 they led. Now, I've always thought that LA had the worst late arriving crowds in sports, but these people have added a new dimension. There are still people coming into the stadium.
And if you're just coming in right now, you just missed a great comeback in the past 3 minutes.
And you say to the guy next to you, so what's happened so far? Kickoff is taken by Paff at the 27. Looking for room, he gets up to the 40. 4 seconds to play in the first half. It took a minute and 2 seconds for Steve Olsen to run it in himself, and one of the key plays was a pass to his brother Paul. And Queens rallies under Doug Hargrave and ties the football game. Remember, these two teams are playing for a playoff spot. And speaking of being in hostile ground, they've got the McGill fans penned up at the one end of the stadium for their own good. Justin Raymond looking deep. Actually had a man open for a second, but threw it over the head of Jerome Coulee. So, Queens scores 17 unanswered points, and this game is tied after 30 minutes. Stay where you are, because the second half should be dandy. Our halftime is coming up next, as you're watching the CIAU live from Kingston here on TSN. But you'll never beat us at the pipes. McGill and Queens even at 17 at halftime. And what an atmosphere here in Kingston on homecoming weekend. In a game that saw McGill score the first 17 points and Queens the next 17. This is a rivalry, as we mentioned, that goes back 110 years. These two teams hate each other perhaps more than any other two teams in the nation. And we talked to the players before this game about the rivalry.
There's just a feeling on campus, on the Queens campus, that I've seen in the last 4 years here for the upcoming McGill game, whether it's there or here. You know, if it's there, everybody's getting ready to road trip and getting on their coveralls and getting all their war paint on. And, you know, if they're coming here like they are this weekend for our homecoming, everybody's talking about it all week. I mean, you look at our campus publications, everybody knows they're coming. The intensity, you know, the people pay attention to our football program. We have pretty good support around the school all through the year, but it really jumps for the week of McGill.
I think when people are coming out of high school and they're choosing what universities to go to, it's always down to Queens or McGill. They're comfortable in education and in football. And I think that you'd say I went to McGill, and you want to say I went there and I made the right choice, and you want to turn around and beat Queens.
Well, since I've been here for 5 years, we've played 2 homecoming games against McGill, and I think just the tradition in both schools, both having long-standing football programs, that weighs heavily on every member of the Queens Golden Gaels football team.
It was 2 years ago today in the same game. And I remember I was just in awe because it was my first year playing as a starter. And I remember looking into the stands, and there were about 10, 12,000 people there, and they're all in purple, and they're all screaming, and it was just a really intense moment. And both teams came out, and nobody was lazy on the field. It was a good, hard-hitting game, nice and clean, and it was really intense, and I loved it. I hope it's like that again this week.
There's a lot of tradition involved, and I know they've had the Kill-McGill rivalry for years since I've been here. I don't know exactly when it started, the Kill-McGill, like they print up T-shirts and they have the whole works. So.
Obviously, you're more emotional in that it gets to the fans, and that the noise level is going to be able to make you pump up. I mean, there's not really much needs to be done when you're playing against Queens. Queens-McGill game is like basically the biggest game of the year for us, and there's not much that needs to be done. But then the fans screaming at you, 10,000 fans, it's going to get your adrenaline going and things like that, and it's going to raise the level of playing of both teams.
Well, it's a tremendous atmosphere here in Kingston this afternoon. The Queens band is behind me, and I can tell you this. I've got one of these, and these guys have to follow me anywhere. Stay with us. Halftime continues on the CIAU on TSN in just a minute. Follow me, guys. 17-all is the score. McGill and Queens. It's the final weekend of the regular season in the Ontario-Quebec Conference, and the winner of this football game gets a spot in the playoffs. And as you can tell, the atmosphere here at Queens is electric. We're going to watch and listen for a minute and bring the university atmosphere home to you. thing I've noticed, Jamie, is there's more purple people here than there were in the first quarter.
Yeah, there are, and it's a beautiful day here. I mean, it's not very cold out at all. I don't know why that guy's purple, but I tell you what, I want to know how he got it on him. Like, is there a lake around here, or did he sit in a bathtub, or what's the story?
Well, let's talk a little bit about the football game. You look at the first quarter, you see McGill score 17 points, and you think this game's over and Queens is out of the playoffs. And then when they failed to score twice inside the 5, it just seemed like Queens would be unable to get anything going. Let's first talk about McGill's success in the first quarter.
And you know what, it's almost been an analogy of their season where they've been up and down all over the place. You know, McGill started out so strong at the beginning. And, you know, when you think about it, it was just in the first minute of the game, and they decide that they're going to run a little bit of hitch to Steve Papp. Then they decide they're going to go the other way to Andy Luchetta. They throw hitch pitch here. Luchetta throws the ball deep, and now Kool-Aid catches it on the run, and he beats Braden Dent, and now it's a foot race into the end zone. So they struck hard and quick.
A 75-yard touchdown on McGill's second possession of the football game. And John Taylor came back and scored for Queens. That second quarter action, it's interesting that all the points have been scored at the one end of the field. This is the McGill scoring drive to open the football game. 2 plays, 75 yards. And remember, McGill scored on each of its first 3 possessions in the football game, but Queens came back and scored on its final 2 in the last 3.5 minutes of the second half.
Well, sorry, Bert. This McGill second touchdown, they decide this time to fake it inside and give the reverse to Steve Papp, the slot back. And you can see it worked so well, they fooled everybody that Papp walks into the end zone.
Now, Queens got a safety early in the second quarter, and as we mentioned, was unable to score twice from inside the 5, but then all of a sudden, the Golden Gaels just burst to life, seemingly knowing that their season was on the line. And you see John Taylor getting in for the touchdown. Finally, it's redemption for him. He had fumbled earlier on the 3-yard line. This time a 4-yard touchdown that got Queens back into the football game.
Well, the incredible thing is that Queens were stopped twice inside of the 5. And, you know, this could be a whole different football game. But it's incredible how they came back in the second quarter.
And Alton goes in for the touchdown. And the key play on this drive, a fake field goal called by Doug Hargraves on 3rd down. And that really seemed to rally this football team.
Yeah, just quarterback sneak this time. They get down and get the big surge. And then, of course, at this time, the score is 15-17 for McGill. They decide to go for the 2 points, and they got it, and it's tied up 17-all.
I guess my question would be, you're the head coach of McGill. What do you say now?
Well, I'll tell you what, you'd say, listen, for the first 27 minutes, we played an outstanding football game. We just had a bit of a mental lapse in 3 minutes. They kept the crowd out of it for the most half, but in the last 3 minutes, the crowd got back into it. It felt like McGill were just trying to hold on before the half. He just says, hey, guys, we got to go back in there, relax. Really, it's tied up right now. We just got to come back out and start to play our kind of football game that we did in the first 27 minutes.
And I guess if you're Doug Hargraves, you say, whatever we were doing in the last 3 minutes, keep doing that. And here's a look at the statistics from the first half of play, and Queens takes the lead. Remember, they had 4 net yards after the first quarter, 240 now at the half. Queens has turned the ball over twice, though, both times inside the 5-yard line. And I'm sure that if Queens loses this football game, they'll discuss that. But I don't know how to handicap this one now. When you look at it, it's almost been like 2 different football games. And you get the sense that no matter who takes the lead here in the third quarter, that it'll come down to the final play of the fourth, no matter what happens.
Well, that's what it looks like right now. And, you know, you're talking about Charlie Bailey. What does he say to his guys? I think if you're Doug Hargraves right now, you have to say, hey, listen, you guys are playing so well, because they're really probably playing over their heads right now. He said he didn't have a very talented team. Looks like they're doing it all in emotion. And this big homecoming crowd here undoubtedly helps the Gaels.
Yeah, we've mentioned it a number of times, the crowd and the atmosphere here in Kingston. I don't think you can underestimate the effect that it has on the young players from both teams, and that's why perhaps we've seen so many emotional swings in this football game, because Queens in the last 5 minutes really did look like a much different football team, and perhaps it's no coincidence that Queens got things going once most of the crowd had arrived here at the stadium, which wasn't until halfway through the second quarter.
And the thing is, you know, you talked about the emotional part of the football game and all the fans still arriving here at the football game. I mean, it is absolutely incredible, and I think that these kind of games is what college football really is about in this country, and it's great to see this kind of a crowd. We got a beautiful day, and it ain't over yet.
You know, it's funny, Jamie, last night I was in Ottawa for a CFL game between the Eskimos and the Rough Riders, and a lot of the talk before that game was about this football game. Jock Climby, a Queens graduate, plays for Ottawa. Michael Souls, a McGill graduate, plays for Edmonton, and as much as they were focusing on that football game last night, which was key to both teams, both were talking about their alma maters, and both as alumni were talking about the importance of this football game for their universities. It's something you don't see everywhere, but I don't think I've ever seen a better example of university football and support from the community than we've seen here today.
No, it's absolutely fantastic. You know, these kind of rivalries, part of the old Big Four, which had Western, Toronto, McGill, and Queens. And, you know, when you have that kind of tradition here, all the alumni come back out, and they get all the new students involved in it as well. And it's just a superb tradition.
Well, you took McGill before this football game. I wonder if you're sticking with your prediction.
I think so right now. I think that they played pretty well the first 27 minutes. I think they're not going to panic right now. I think this has been an analogy of their season. They're going to have to come back in the second half.
Well, things were looking pretty grim for my Queens prediction there for a minute, but I guess you've got to like both teams' chances at this point. With a playoff spot in the line, what a second half we've got coming. Sit tight and do not adjust your set. Yes, that is the color of that man's face. We'll be right back to Kingston in just a moment. Even at 17 with a second half to come here on homecoming weekend in Kingston. The Golden Gaels and the McGill Redmen playing for a playoff spot. And Justin Raymond and the McGill Redmen had things pretty much their way in the first quarter. But the numbers for Raymond, 4 of 10 for 69 yards. And remember, the bulk of those came in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, they did, Gord. 4 of 10. Actually, they're not including that big Andy Lachetta pass to Jerome Goulet in that one because he didn't throw it, obviously. But nevertheless, their passing game has been there for them. But I think they're going to have to make sure that Justin Raymond gets the time to throw. Queens had a lot of emotion in the end of the first half, and they're starting to get to him. They sacked him at the end. They got to protect their quarterback if they have a hope of winning this football game.
Now you look at Steve Oathen, who started this football game for Queens, and the Golden Gaels only had the ball twice in the first quarter, and yet in the second quarter, he comes right back. And look at this, 7 of 11 for 155 yards. And as good as Raymond was in the first quarter, Oathen was the man in the second.
And a real gutty performance, because when you're down 17 points, you know, that can seem like a tremendous uphill battle to you when you're a quarterback. Nothing seems to be going right for you. You had the bad first quarter, but he really rebounded astonishingly well and got his team back into this football game.
Well, it really has been something. And we're set now for the second half. The defending national champion Queens Golden Gaels and the McGill Redmen. And Queens will kick off to open the second half. And what's been interesting is all the points in this football game have been scored in the end zone to our right. A short kickoff. And it's picked up by Rob Weir. Right away, Rob Weir runs right under that short kickoff by Dan Coderre. And Queens quickly has the football at the McGill 44-yard line.
I tell you, you can't write it up any better than that. Or that.
Or that.
This is a perfect kick by Dan Coderre. Look at the nice height he has. Rob Weir comes running right underneath it, catches it on the fly right there, just takes it right out of Carl St. Ange's hands.
I mentioned we're a backup quarterback for this team. He's done a little bit of everything today. Jonathan Taylor gets down to about the 41. Call it a gain of 3. Well, Doug Hargraves has faked a field goal. Short kick to open the second half. Who calls that guy convention?
That's an aggressive play, and I think he wants to try and set the tone for his offense in the third quarter.
I think he wants to score in that south end zone because he knows that's where all the points are. 2nd and 7. They fake to Taylor. Out to the flat to Kozan, and Paul Kozan can't quite reach it. It'll bring up 3rd down.
Well, I think one of the other reasons for it he wanted to set the tone is that in this season, in the first 6 games, Queens has been outscored 45-7 in the third quarter, and this is where the games have usually turned for them. So I think he came out saying, hey, let's get the ball down there, let's pump one in, let's get some confidence in the third quarter, and let's not have those disastrous third quarters we've been having this season.
Dan Coderre, who executed that short kickoff, comes in now to punt. Punted for a 30.7-yard average so far this season. This is a low, tumbling punt that bounces back towards the Queens defenders. Pat picks it up. and runs all the way up to 30 and gets to the 31-yard line. So Coderre does not get a good kick away, and McGill will have good field position for its opening possession of this second half.
Steve Papp making a good heads-up play because Dan Coderre was running down there trying to recover that short kick.
So Justin Raymond and the McGill offense go back to work, and we'll see which version of that offense we'll see. Raymond looks like he's changing the play at the line. Here's Chad Lukey had a big first half. Lukey takes it outside, but got strung out pretty well out there and picked up a gain of maybe 4 before the tackle is made on the play by Mark Morrison and Jay Lewis.
But I think what happened here, Justin Raymond comes up and he changes the play here because he sees all sorts of people coming up front. He thinks they've got the big blitz. They're trying to run it off tackle outside, but then they all jump out of it at the last moment. So Queens now are starting to try and do a lot of funny things on defense, playing a lot of different games to try and confuse Raymond.
2nd and 7. Raymond waits, throws into double coverage. The pass was intended for Jay McCarg, but outstanding coverage provided there by Joel Dagnoni, the safety, and he was actually closest to the football.
Joel Dagnoni, all-conference a year ago, had 7 interceptions last year, only 1 so far this year. But good coverage on Jay McCarg.
2 and out for McGill, and not the way you'd like to open the second half, particularly after what happened late in that first half. Andrew Boone into punt. Setting up the return. This is Weir. Up to the 53-yard line, so Queens will have great field position for its second offensive possession of the half, and will return to Queens in a moment. Welcome back to Kingston, the city that gave us the first hockey game, according to legend. Doug Gilmore, Don Cherry, and today a great football game. Even at 17 as Queens begins 1st and 10 from its own 51. They fake the option, go with the dive play up the middle, and not much doing there for Paul Kozan.
Well, that's one of the advantages you have when you have a quarterback such as Steve Olsen, is that he is a pretty good running quarterback, and they can run option. And I know Doug Hargrave is an option coach. He likes to run it.
You saw Bob Howes a moment ago, the offensive coordinator here at Queens. Gain of maybe a yard, call it 2nd and 9. Olsen under pressure, throws it to the sidelines. And unable to get to it is the intended receiver, Chris Gear. Gear in the first half was the holder on that fake field goal attempt to pick up the first down that set up the touchdown. Kill McGill weekend here, not kill TSN. I'll tell you what, Jimmy, why don't you go up and start my car for me after the game?
No, I think I'll ask Paul Romanek to do that.
My goodness. Did we mention that the Kingston Pen is just up the street?
Yeah.
Here's Papp taking that short punt. Another flag is down, and Papp is on the fly all the way up to midfield. And no yards will likely be the call against Queens. So gradually McGill is winning the battle for field position here in the second half.
And an experienced move by the punt returner Steve Papp in his 4th year out of Catholic Central High School to make sure that ball does not bounce, play it aggressively. It is up to the kicking team to locate the football. And they have to get out of that 5-yard area. I'm sure that if it is no yards, McGill will decline it.
No yards, 45 Queens, first down.
School whose slogan is kill, kill, kill. I think that was my high school's fight song. McGill begins 1st and 10 from the midfield stripe. 10.5 minutes to play here in the 3rd quarter. Raymond from the shotgun, under pressure right away, dumps it out on the screen to Lutke. And Lutke makes the catch off the top of his shoes and picks up 9, and in fact is close to the first down.
Those are the kind of plays that McGill are going to have to run a little bit more of today, because Queens are coming with a big rush. They're changing it up. They're bringing linebackers. They're bringing defensive backs. You can see Joel Dagnoni was there on the blitz. He's a safety. When you start running screens, people have to play a bit more honestly, and they cannot start bringing everything. They got to start to play a little bit of defense.
2nd and inches. And they give to the big man, Delando Hawthorne, who's been pretty quiet today, used mostly as a blocker. This time he picks up 4 yards and gets the first down. They're finally off our backs anyway.
I think somebody gave him a cue card.
So McGill begins to move the ball now. 1st and 10 at the Queens 41. Delando Hawthorne stacked up quickly and got maybe 2. Once again, linebacker Tim Ware is in to help out with the stop, along with Jay Lewis. A number of pro scouts here this afternoon. Saw Bill Quinter from the BC Lions, among others. Delando Hawthorne is the kind of guy who attracts attention from them because he's big, fast, and he can do a number of things, catch and run. Raymond back out to Lutke on that screen pass. This time he's tripped up nicely on a good defensive play by James Patterson. Mark Morrison in to help out with the stop as well and stop Lutke short of the first down. It's 3rd and 2.
See 26, Chad Lutke start to go to the right of your screen. Dishing the ball outside, and a nice job actually coming up and making that tackle was Mark Morrison, number 28. Comes underneath the block of Mike Emsley.
Third and 2, and McGill is gambling. They give to Lutke. He's stacked up pretty quickly, but the spot will determine whether or not he got the first down, but jumping into the play quickly were a number of players, including Todd Vokes, Jay Lewin, and it looks as if McGill does have the first down. So a gutsy gamble by Charlie Bailey on 3rd and a long 2.
And especially going to the right side, because we saw Dan Creepa, who was injured earlier in the first quarter, actually on the 2nd play of the football game. He's back in there again at right tackle. We've got their normal center back, Jeff Speck, again, so they feel they can still run over to Dan Creepo's side.
1st and 10 from the 31. An impressive drive by the Redmen. Raymond goes back to the shotgun. Dumps it over for Lutke. This time he slips and falls, and in the CIAU, once you're down, play is called immediately, and that'll likely be a loss of a couple of yards.
Now, you know what? There's one problem with that play when they're running screen, is that Lutke's getting too far outside. And consequently, the offensive lineman really can't get out in front of him. Take a look at Lutke. Watch him, number 26, and they throw the ball. See how far out he is here, and see the linemen are inside, 61 and 62. That forces him to try to cut back, and he slips. He's got to be a little more patient and hang in there and not go out as far.
Loss of a couple, 2nd and 12. Draw play to Lutke, but he goes nowhere. Great play made by the safety, Joel Dagnoni. And Dagnoni, the all-time conference leader in interceptions, has also made a number of key tackles on running plays today, and this time stops McGill on 2nd down. The St. Mary's Huskies, ranked number 1 in the nation, lead Acadia 24-7 at halftime. It's been a real up-and-down season for
St. Mary's getting revenge from that earlier 40-7 loss to Acadia, the first game of the season.
Here's Andrew Boone from the 40-yard line. Up. And good. And McGill retakes the lead 20-17 with 6:50 to play in the 3rd quarter. Stay tuned at the conclusion of today's game for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by Apple Auto Glass. Guaranteed the pick of the crop from coast to coast. on top by 3 after Andrew Boone's 40-yard field goal. And Queens takes over 1st and 10 from its own 35-yard line. The first point scored in the north end of the stadium. Alton with the toss to Jonathan Taylor. Taylor battles inside, but he's tackled pretty quickly. Norm Beaudry in to make the stop, along with Ken Friedman, the middle linebacker. Continuing with the out-of-town scores, the second-ranked Western Mustangs losing to McMaster 6-4. Somebody's got a hat trick in that game. Here's Taylor again, more room to run this time, up across the 50 to the 51-yard line, and a Queens first down. Ken Friedman in again to make the stop.
Yeah, Queens run the inside trap so well, and you can see the trapping guard, number 44. He comes across at Scott Gray. I mean, there's no one there to trap, so he just turns up in the hole. Scott Gray comes out to no one to trap. That's what he's supposed to do, turn it up the hole and get the piece of Mark Reeser, the linebacker.
First down from the 51-yard line. Open quickly over the middle to Ed Kidd, and Kidd actually got some help from the McGill defender who knocked him forward. He gets all the way down to the 44-yard line. Another Queens first down. Had he not been hit, Kidd likely would have been stopped for only a 2-yard gain.
Yeah, Norm Beaudry came off of the pass rush on the left side. After the ball was thrown, came in and actually helped put Ed Kidd back on his feet. Ed Kidd stumbles here at boom. Okay, push me down the field. I'll go straight down the field. Mike Germain has to come up. Ed Kidd takes a lot with him, I tell you. Mike Germain, 6'3", 202. Ed Kidd really put him right up back on his back.
First attempt for the 44. Olton has a man open. It's Ed Kidd, and he hangs onto the football. They'll rule a catch. Nope, they'll wave it off. So Kidd, who's made a number of circus catches today, can't quite make the grab there as the official jumped in to wave off that reception.
We just talked a second ago about how Ed Kidd gave one to Mike Germain.
The 4th-ranked Toronto Varsity Blues lead Guelph 13-3. Still a great battle for the lead in that conference. And look at this, York. Could the Yeomen finally end the losing streak? 7-0 over Lorient. 2nd and 10 from the 44 here. Alton looks deep. And the pass is almost picked off by Wes Barber, who was actually in the best position to make the play. Paul Kozan was the intended receiver, but the ball was well over his head. .4:39 to play now in the 3rd quarter. Another game in this conference. The Bishop's Gainers coming off the loss last week to McGill lead Concordia 17-7. Once again, I threw the kiss of death on Bishops this year by picking them to win the Vanier Cup. Here's a direct snap. The fake, and this time Kozan doesn't get it. They direct snap the ball to Paul Kozan, but he needed a full 10 yards. He got only 8, and McGill will take over at the 38-yard line. Well, Doug Hargraves has really shown a desire to gamble, but you wonder about this one.
Take the direct snap. They want Kozan to carry the football. But I guess maybe what Doug Hargraves is thinking, when it's 2nd down and long, no one's going to be taking it.
Well, the other problem, I suppose, too, is that Coderre, the punter, has had trouble getting the ball deep, so why not try the direct snap to Kozan? Draw play to Lutke. Gets away from the first couple of tacklers, still going. And finally, Aaron Campbell drives him out of bounds, but not before Lutke gets inside Queens territory to the 54-yard line.
I'll tell you what a move he puts on James Patterson.
8 of 18 yards.
He gets through the line here. Now watch this move right here in James Patterson, number 8. Gets in the old shake and then goes outside, and Patterson goes inside number 8. Nice use of the shoulders, just give him that little juke and then get outside. An impressive running back, Chad Lutke. 6 feet, 208 pounds in his first year out of Michael A. Ripple High School in Regina.
Here's Delando Hawthorne. Hawthorne's got lots of room to run all the way down to the 41-yard line. Gain of 13 and another first down for McGill.
This is why it's very important to have a guy like Dan Crefo into the football game. Watch this block right here. This is what springs this play. It's down, bang, right there, and then Hawthorne cuts it back inside.
Great block by Crefo, who, as you mentioned, left this game on the second play with an injury. 1st and 10 from the 41. Raymond from the shotgun to Papp, and Papp dropped the football. Ran the quick hook, but couldn't hang on as Mark Johnson provided the coverage. Johnson, a rush end for Queens, dropped back in pass coverage.
I'm sure Steve Papp's kind of shaking his head saying, I know I've got to catch the ball in my hands, not taking it off my chest.
Especially when you're being covered by a defensive lineman.
That's right, especially when you're inside. And you know everybody's flowing from the inside out.
Brings up 2nd and 10. 2:45 to play. Here in the 3rd quarter. Halfback blitz coming. Raymond goes deep looking for Trepanier. Campbell tried to swat it away, and Trepanier makes the catch. Aaron Campbell might have got a piece of that football, but not enough, and Trepanier makes the grab.
Just great concentration by Alex Trepanier. This ball is thrown a little bit flat here, so Aaron Campbell, even though he's beaten, has a play on it. He takes his right hand, he just misses the ball.
A 37-yard gain. He got a piece of that football.
He tipped it, actually. Great concentration by Trepanier. Aaron Campbell, who a year ago used to be the 6th defensive back for Queens.
1st and goal from the 6. Hawthorne. Touchdown. And just like the 1st quarter, the 3rd quarter sees McGill score twice. And the conversion can give the Redmen a 10-point lead.
Orlando Hawthorne, they want again, run it right over the big guy. Dan Crefo comes in at 295 pounds. This can take Hawthorne off tackle. It's blocked right at the point of attack by number 65. That's Spring, you can see right here. I mean, that is a great job by the offensive tackle. Great job.
Raymond, good job!
Multiple conduct, 10 yards on the kickoff on us.
There was a penalty after the play, unsportsmanlike conduct against McGill. It'll be assessed on the kickoff. Andrew Boone with the convert is good. And McGill enjoys a 10-point lead for the 2nd time in the football game. So the Golden Gaels have another uphill battle. 2:15 to play in the 3rd quarter. We'll return to Kingston in just a moment. In this tug of war at Richardson Stadium here at Queens, McGill is back on top by 10, 27-17. Remember, the Redmen enjoyed a 17-0 lead in the 1st half. There's Orlando Hawthorne, the man who scored the touchdown, his 3rd rushing touchdown of the season. Boone to kick off. Here's Rob Weir backpedaling to his own 10. Weir gets all the way up to the 30-yard line, which is where Queens will go back to work offensively. Well, after Doug Hargraves tried the fake punt, McGill drove it right back 71 yards in a minute and a half, and Hawthorne capped it off with the 6-yard touchdown run. And you wonder if perhaps Hargraves didn't go to his bag of tricks once too often. And there's the McGill fans petting zoo down at the corner of the track. Queens fans could walk by and check out the Redmen fans, who are all penned up in that one corner. Taylor gets a quick 6 up to about the 36-yard line. And the clock running with 1:45 to play in the 3rd quarter. Quick to Ed Kidd, but the pass is behind it. And it'll bring up a punting situation again for Queens. And Oathman is limping a little bit.
You see Queens McGill coming with a strong rush to bring Carl St. Onge. And outside again, number 58, Ken Friedman, the outside linebacker, expands outside. just tips the ball, and you can see that makes the difference. And Ed Kidd coming down the reception and an incomplete pass, and Queens are forced to punt.
And we mentioned Dan Goodair's punting problems a moment ago. Here's a better kick taken by Papp at the 50. Papp across midfield and down to the Queens 51-yard line. 56 seconds to play in the third quarter. McGill leads by 10. McGill leads Queens 27-17. Is there a baseball game tonight somewhere? I can't remember. Don't forget tonight, if the Blue Jays win the World Series, TSM will have extensive coverage from Skydome, the dressing room, downtown. You name it, we'll be there. Right now, we're in Kingston. And McGill leads by 10. Raymond looking for his tight end, Jay McCarg, but threw it well over his head. He was under a lot of pressure and actually got dropped at the end of that pass.
Now, that's an adrenaline throw there because the snap was low. He had to pick it up. He knew the rush was coming. And he just picked it up and threw it as far as he could.
And you saw him talking there about the low snap on the shotgun.
And that may be one of the reasons he didn't like it, because he doesn't like to have to picking up the ball off the ground. He'd rather have it right about chest high, mid-chest high, so he can keep his eyes downfield.
2nd and 10 from the 52. What wind there is at McGill's back. But we're in the dying seconds of the third quarter. Raymond this time will drop back. Looking for Jerome Poulet, and flags are down. James Patterson was there on the coverage, and interference will be the call against Queens.
Even though this pass doesn't look pretty, nevertheless, it's right on the money, and you can see Braden Dent pulling the left arm of Jerome Poulet. Right there. Pulls the arm. Good call by the official, a 15-yard penalty.
Yeah, another difference between the CFL and the CIAU is that it's an automatic 15-yard penalty in the CIAU, not the point of the infraction. But as a result, it's a first down for McGill from the 36-yard line.
They must have ran out of purple paint.
Raymond may be changing the play again. Steps back quickly, and that's almost picked off by James Patterson.
Okay, that's the kind of pass you do not want to throw, Gord. That quick hook out into the flat.
Well, we'll see if Queens can mount another comeback. The Gaels trail by 10. The fourth quarter still to come, and we'll return to Queens in a moment. We're back in Kingston and Queens University. McGill leading by 10 points, and the winner of today's game secures a playoff spot. McGill can lose this game and still make the playoffs, but the Redmen would need some help. Draw play, Chad Lutke. And on second down, Lutke gets about 8, but it'll be 2 yards short of the first down. Well, that's a play that's worked well for McGill today.
And when you have a back as talented as Lutke, because it looked like Stuart Defoe had a beeline on him, but he managed to get out of trouble.
Here's the numbers after 3. And McGill retakes the lead in net yards, but turnover. 3 by Queens, none by McGill.
And the real big one in this half has to be the turnover on the fake punt. That led to a McGill score, touchdown, and that really has been the difference so far.
Andrew Boone will try the field goal, this time from 36 yards out. Boone's kick is up and good. Now a 13-point lead for the Redmen with 14:06 to play in the fourth quarter. Well, this is just where Queens wants them, right? Up by double digits. And the Golden Gaels will take over at their own 35-yard line. Andrew Boone, the leading kicker in McGill school history. Well, we'll see if the Golden Gaels can pull another rabbit out of the hat. Remember, they scored 2 touchdowns late in the second quarter. Olsen will throw. Over the middle and picked off. Olsen was looking there over the middle, but it's intercepted by linebacker Carl St. Owen. And McGill gets the ball right back in a huge defensive play
by the McGill veteran.
And Carl St. Onge should go right over to his defensive lineman and start thanking him for that great pass rush. Steve Austin tried to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker than he wanted to, and consequently didn't have the time to really find anybody open downfield. Carl St. Onge's second interception of the season at a View Montreal.
Here's McGill, a first down at the Queens 37-yard line. Here's the Lando Hawthorne. Outside and high steps it down to the 26-yard line. Should have a first down. Continuing our look at out-of-town scores. Bishop's now leading Concordia by 20 points in the fourth quarter. And Guelph is closing the gap on Toronto. That score now 13-10 in the second quarter. And remember a tremendous Guelph-Toronto double overtime game we did last year. It was a first down. Here's Hawthorne again. The ball is loose. A fumble, and they'll say he was down. A quick whistle, and it's second down. And Queens could have gotten a gigantic break there.
This isn't.
And you can see that ball was out quickly. Well, McGill catches a break, and remember, they caught a very bad break here last year. Final play of the semifinal game. McGill thought it had won the game with a touchdown, but it was called back. Here's the toss to Dan Cronick, who has seen limited action in this football game, but he picks up about 8 as he gets down to about the 18-yard line.
You know, McGill has good depth at running back. Dan Cronick, of course, Dimitri Haddad, starters Chad Lutke. Nice run here. You can see they get Johnson on the ground, number 32, the outside linebacker, and then Cronick just gets tackled down by that foot tackle.
Only Cronick's 4th carry of the season. And the 9-yard gain doubles his rushing total for the season. In fact, more than doubles it. You know what? I have a question. You put on a wig and you paint your face and you get on TV and then you say, "Hi, Mom." How would your mom recognize you? Just a question. So Cronick got 9, and they're a yard short. And McGill calls timeout. They want to talk it over on the sideline. This is a key point in the football game. 12:09 to play in the fourth quarter. McGill leading by 13, and you have to think that any kinds of points here for the Redmen would, for all intents and purposes, put this game out of reach. But, and again, Queens has been known to pull the odd game out, especially at home.
You know, Queens are a well-coached football team. You talked about Bob Howes a little bit earlier, their offensive coordinator, Bob Mullins. But Charlie Bailey thinks he's got a pretty good football team himself, and they've shown it so far today with a 30-17 lead.
So it's 3rd and less than a yard. And McGill will go gambling. Raymond straight ahead has the first down as he gets down to the 15-yard line.
And, you know, really, Gordon, not much of a gamble when you consider the size of Queens' defensive line compared to the offensive line. I mean, when you get the big guys in there pushing and shoving, they're always going to win against smaller guys every time. And just take a look at the surge of the offensive line. I mean, everybody's going backwards.
1st and 10 now from the 15. Under 12 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. And the Golden Gaels need a defensive stand here to stop this game from getting out of reach. Hawthorne stopped after a gain of maybe 3. And this big crowd here at Queens has been quieted somewhat by this McGill second-half explosion.
And Mike Emsley is the injured player on the field for McGill, the right guard. Excuse me, I think it's Mike Emsley, number 61.
hours down the highway from Montreal to Kingston. And those fans have made the trip, and those McGill fans are very happy about what they've seen so far. And Mike Emsley is the injured player. Not what McGill needs with the playoffs approaching. More injuries to the offensive line. You mentioned Matthew Kiviget, the all-star offensive lineman, already out of the lineup. And Dan Creefo banged up a little bit. Here's a look at how he got hurt. Just on the left of your screen. And he kind of got his hand caught up, I think, in the equipment of Tim Ware. And Emsley is back on his feet. The gain was 2. It brings up a 2nd and 8 for McGill. And now they're really getting short people along the offensive line. Raymond talked it over on the sidelines, and will come out with this play on 2nd down. 11:35 to play in the 4th quarter. It looks like some kind of shoulder injury to Mike Emsley. On 2nd down, they fake the draw to McCarrick, and they go out to Dan Pronick, and Pronick has the first down and more as he gets all the way down to the 1-yard line. So Dan Pronick makes the big reception for the first down.
They line up Dan Pronick on the right side, and they bring him across the formation behind the quarterback, and then they leak him out into the flat. And a nice job by Raymond to get him the ball outside. Good feet by Dan Pronick as he tries to get into the end zone, but just a little bit short on the 1-yard line.
First and goal from the 1. Hawthorne. Touchdown. His 2nd of the football game. And the convert can make it a 20-point lead for McGill. And believe it or not, there are still people arriving here at Richardson Stadium, but some of them may have seen enough. And they may have seen the end of Queen's season.
They line up in an ace backfield here. Now, Mark Johnson comes in from the side, number 32, but you know what? He's only 210 pounds. He's not going to take down a 233-pounder from the side. And Hawthorne gets into the end zone.
And so it's a 20-point lead for McGill. And the Redmen have their hands close to a playoff spot.
For Robin Dave.
The last 16 seasons have seen the Queens Golden Gaels in the playoffs, but a loss today, and the Gaels are on the sideline.
And that was Doug Hargrave's first year here in 1976 when they failed to make the playoffs, have made the playoffs every year since. And he'll only have one more shot at it after this season if they don't win today's game, because he's only coaching one more year. Next year will be his last season.
Rob Weir takes the kick off of the 13-yard line. And Weir gets up to the 28 before he's tackled on a good special teams play by Jamie Murphy. And the McGill fans who made the trip here are loving it. Nothing McGill would like better than to ruin homecoming weekend at Queens. That drive took 2:28, 7 plays, and Delano Hawthorne gets his 2nd touchdown of the football game. And McGill has simply owned the ball here in the 2nd half. Queens first and 10 from its own 29, but time is starting to run out. Kozet will throw again. He was looking for the quarterback, Steve Austin, who actually has caught a pass already this season. So they were looking to go back to the quarterback, but that pass fell well short of the target.
And you know, Wes Barber, number 27, wasn't fooled by this at all. He's just dropping back, and he almost comes up with the interception. If the ball had been thrown a little bit better, it would have been 6 points for McGill.
So Doug Hargraves is emptying out the playbook. He showed us a little of everything. Austin dropped the ball off the snap. And now goes complete. Will they call it a catch and a fumble? It is a catch and a fumble as Chris Gear couldn't hang on, and it's McGill football at the Queens 45.
This is a great hit by Mike Germain, the safety, number 32. Watch this. Right here. Bang. He pops and gets a hand in there. Jars the ball loose.
And the intended receiver was Ed Kidd.
Right inside. Boom.
Is that a catch?
We talk Mike Germain, the idyllic size for a free safety, 6'3", 202.
And Raymond comes up throwing. Flags are down as he was looking for his tight end, Jay McCarg, and that will certainly be pass interference on Mark Morrison, who was all over the intended receiver.
Well, what can you do if you're Mark Morrison? Look how his body, McCarg's body, screens Morrison out of there. Morrison's 5'9", McCarg close to 6'5". I mean, that's really the only play that Morrison has, and that's one of the reasons why people don't like the interference call now, that you only get 15 yards, because it encourages, they think, some type of play like that, where if you're beaten, haul the guy down. All you're going to lose is 15.
Cup, they're saying. McGill last won it in 1987. Michael Souls was the game's MVP. 5 turnovers by the Golden Gaels. They fake the reverse to Pappan. Look at the room that Raymond has to run. Down to the 18-yard line, a late flag comes down in the McGill backfield.
Holding before yards a gain, 6'3" McGill. First down repeated.
Jean-Nicolas Lavoie is called for holding, the left tackle. And as a result, McGill will be pushed back to the 40-yard line. It'll be 1st and 20. And these Queens fans have perhaps seen enough. Heading home to beat the traffic.
They don't believe. They just don't believe.
Well, 9:05 to play now. You'd have to think it'll take some big plays to get Queens back in this game. Raymond was trying the hitch pass over there to Jerome Coulee. Coulee was not open, and there is a flag down on the play.
You can see the style of quarterback that Justin Raymond is. You know, he's a big, tall quarterback, a pocket thrower, really not a sprint-out player.
Got intentional grounding, number 12, McGill, 2nd down.
Well, they're going the wrong way here. Raymond called for intentional grounding. That puts the ball back at the 52-yard line. So it's now 2nd and 32.
And it's also a loss of down.
So are there plays in the playbook for 2nd and 32?
Everybody go deep.
Go to the light pole, come back. I'll hit you on the boulevard. Raymond from the shotgun tries the screen pass. And Cronick is brought down right at midfield, and he's some 30 yards short of the first down. Good play by Tim Ware, the linebacker. So 8:19 to play now, and Queens trails by 20. Remember, the Gaels did score twice in the last 3 minutes of the first half. Andrew Boone backs the punt. Bad snap, and Boone has to kick on the run. Kicks it out of bounds, and it should be Queens ball at about the 44-yard line. We'll see where they ruled it out of bounds. They call it out of bounds at the 40, so that's where the Golden Gaels will take over with 7:56 to play here in the 4th quarter.
Steve Olsen continues at quarterback for Queens. We mentioned a week ago that Rob Weir, number 12, who we've seen field punts today, came in and had a good game against the University of Ottawa.
Open on 1st down. They set up the screen pass to Kozan. Paul Kozan gets away from the first tackler and is close to a 1st down. Knocked out of bounds by Carl St. Onge, the linebacker who made a big interception earlier in this quarter. But Kozan should have the 1st down.
Paul Kozan, a nice job of running the football, reads his blocks very well. Good hitting here by Carl St. Ange, number 51, as he comes across and forces Kozan out of bounds.
And this will require a measurement. Now Queens needing 3 touchdowns to win the football game. Has to work quickly, and Western leads McMaster 19-6 at the half. And what a race it is for first place in the OUAA. Toronto leading Guelph 13-10 at the half. What an upset that was. Western defeating the U of T handily at home. Tough to pick a Vanier Cup favorite this year.
There really are about 12 teams that could win it.
Oh, here we go. Can York snap the streak? Leading at the half, 7-2. Hope we're not getting a hockey score by accident. That might break some hearts. Olsen under pressure, gets it away, looking for Kozan, but the pass was behind him. And as he threw the ball, Olsen got leveled by Norm Beaudry.
Well, you can tell they got a left tackle, Mark Robinson, number 62. He's a great big guy against Norm Beaudry, who's only 210 pounds, and Beaudry can run.
Beaudry just ran right around him. Brings up a 2nd and 10 from the 50. 7 minutes now to play in the 4th quarter. Queens needs big plays, and now Olsen throwing for Kidd. Flags are down. And I believe this call is going against Queens. Holding is the call.
Holding 6-6 Queens is declined. 3rd down.
Ken Kirkwood, right tackle, is called for holding.
I'm a bit surprised at this, that they decide to punt the football. They're down by 20 points. Only 6:56 left to play.
And the playoffs on the line. If you don't win today, the season is over.
Rip the ball up. Let's go defense. Let's go, boys. Let's go.
See if Hargraves has another trick up his sleeve. Coder punts, his best of the day. Pass from the 20. Has some room. Up to the 37-yard line. A return of 17 when it appeared there was nothing there. McGill continues his 20-point lead. On Tuesday at 8:30 Eastern Time, TSN's award-winning documentary series For the Love of the Game debuts this season with Brave New World, Sport in South Africa. An intriguing look at the fiber of sport and the new politics in that country. And Rekindle the Flame comes your way Friday, October 29th at 8:30 Eastern Time. Figure skaters from Olympics past and future. Back in Calgary, the site of the 1988 Winter Olympics. .24 to play now in the 4th quarter, and McGill with the football can take a serious bite out of the clock and take a serious step towards a playoff spot. Raymond fumbled the snap, and he may be lobbying to get that shotgun out of there as soon as possible. Tim Ware in to make the stop.
Well, they were going to run the ball there, but you see those Queens fans don't really seem to care what the score is at this stage in the football game. They're just having a good time.
They might not know what it is if you ask them. Loss of 5 brings up 2nd and 15. So if McGill wins this football game today, the winner of the Panda game between Ottawa and Carleton tomorrow makes the playoffs. Not much doing on that running play, as Chad Lukey is brought down quickly. McGill will finish 3rd with a win today and will travel to the 2nd place team, either Concordia or Bishops, and it looks as if that'll be Bishops for a semifinal game next week. But all of a sudden the Panda game takes on an immense amount of significance with the final playoff spot in the conference on the line. And that game is tomorrow night at Frank Clair Stadium. Andrew Boone to punt.
Rob Weir takes it at the McGill 54. Looking for a big return. He's brought down at the 48-yard line. 5:07 to play now in the fourth quarter. This is the alumni side of Richardson Stadium here in Kingston, and 3 weeks ago, Queens football and indeed all of the CIAU lost a tremendous friend in Frank Tyndall, who passed away, and today this seat in the alumni section has been dedicated in his honor. Tyndall, a tremendous coach here at Queens. There was a touching pregame ceremony to honor the man who played such a major role in the development of football at this school and indeed across the country.
He influenced a lot of people, and just a great man.
Queens was instrumental in beginning what we know as the Vanier Cup, a national championship game against the University of Alberta in the mid-1960s that led to the start of a college bowl championship. Olsen unable to hang on to the snap there, and with 4:20 to play, time is winding down in the Golden Gaels season. Some of these players were still in diapers the last time Queens missed the playoffs. Third and 3. Queens naturally goes gambling. Alton was looking for Chris Gear, but the pass is knocked away. Nice defensive play by Franz Wellington, who gets a hand in, and it's another turnover, this time on downs by the Gaels.
You know, we saw McGill play 2 weeks ago against Concordia University, and they did not really look very sharp in that football game. And this is a different McGill football team we're seeing this afternoon.
And when you consider that McGill beat Bishops, you have to wonder if perhaps the Gators aren't wondering about a possible playoff meeting.
Bishops, of course, without their starting quarterback, Jim Murphy, he went out in the first quarter against McGill. Charlie Lubbock came into that game, and I believe Lubbock started this afternoon's game.
There's the toss to Dan Cronick. Gets maybe 6. But the clock continues to wind down. 3.5 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. And the fans who came for homecoming are heading back home. 2nd and 6 now for McGill.
Ed Kidd on the sidelines. This is his last year. He's seeing 3 minutes remaining in his football career at the university level.
Raymond under pressure, is brought down immediately, and Ed Kidd and a number of these other Queens seniors have something to take home that a lot of CIU players don't get. That's the Vanier Cup ring.
You know, we were talking to some of them yesterday, and some of the players, and they say, you know, it really puts it into perspective how difficult it really is to win the Vanier Cup when you go through a season in which everything seemed to be so Cinderella for you a year ago when they won it, and then to come into a season like this year where it's very frustrating.
And think of a school like Bishop, which has turned out so many outstanding CFL players. That's a school that's never been to the Vanier Cup.
Probably the best team never to be there.
They're down. McGill kicks it away. Here's Morrison. Up to the 50. And with 2:36 to play, Queens has the ball back. But it'll take a miracle to get the Gaels into the playoffs. Sweet revenge for the McGill Redmen. A 20-point lead in the fourth quarter. This is where McGill's season ended last year. But this afternoon, McGill returns the favor to Queens. Olsen rolling out under pressure. Looking for Ed Kidd, who makes the catch inside McGill territory to the 47-yard line. And he gets out of bounds.
You mentioned earlier, Gord, Ed Kidd came to this program 1989 as a quarterback. And he played there for 2 seasons, and they felt that with Tim Pendergast nailing down the starting quarterback job, that he was too good of an athlete to have him sitting on the bench. They put him in as a slot back, and he's performed, had a great university career playing at that position.
What a great postseason he had last year. Olsen now to the right. Takes another shot looking for Kidd, and that time Ed Kidd had 5 McGill defenders around him.
the kind of people Ed Kidd attracts. Look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4 right around them. They form like a diamond around them. It's very difficult to get the football in there.
They're trying to throw into a well. .2:24 to go in the fourth quarter. Open has time. His time complete to Chris Gear. And Gear wisely gets out of bounds as he gets down to the 25.
Gotta believe, let's go!
Well, they haven't lost hope on the Queens sidelines. 2:16 to go. The Queens needs 3 quick scores to extend the season. Incomplete, looking for his brother Paul, who has 1 reception today. It was a big one, set up a Queens touchdown. Brings up second down with 2:13 to play. Second and 10 from the 25. Tries it again, and his brother Paul makes the great tiptoe catch as he stays in bounds and gets all the way down to about the 13-yard line. Great job of staying in bounds.
And you only need 1 foot in Canadian football. Nice job. I'm sure those two guys have thrown the ball to one another a million times.
Now first and 10 from the 14, but the clock is at 2:06. Queens needs to score quickly. Olthen's under pressure. Brought down and the ball is loose. Norm Beaudry knocked the ball out, and it's right into the hands of linebacker Jason Barr. And that will do it for the season of the Queens Golden Gaels. What a play by Norm Beaudry to run the quarterback down and knock the ball out.
And we talked about the trouble that the offensive tackles were having from Queens. You can see Kirkwood gets turned around. Beaudry runs right by him. Right-handed quarterback, when he goes to throw, the ball is going to be closest to the defensive man rushing from the right side. Gets in there and swats the ball away. And then Barr jumps on it for McGill.
Fucking awesome play, Bo.
So now McGill will go to the playoffs next week. Raymond just falls in the football with 1:57 to play. Likely to play Concordia. Check that we've got a new quarterback in the football game now for McGill. That's Christian Sebastian, who has yet to throw a pass this season.
You know, Gord, I do a quarterback receiver camp up at Olympia every year, and Christian Sebastian was a young 13-year-old, I think, when I was up there a few years ago. So it's kind of interesting to see a young player now playing in the university ranks.
Way to go, Tim. Way to go, Timmy. Nice job. Keep it up, guys.
You mentioned earlier, Jamie, that Doug Hargraves will retire following next season. We talked to Doug Hargraves about his retirement, which is now 1 year away.
Basically, I'm going to coach 1 more season, and then I'm going to become a full-time skier deckhand and focus on the rest of my life.
Doug Hargraves has been immensely successful at this university, and the numbers speak for themselves, but I think the quality of athletes, the quality of people that this university has turned out, you look at Peck Wright Trophy winners like Larry Moore, you look at the players throughout the Canadian Football League, and not just that, you look at the kind of students this university turns out, the kind of athletes, and it's a tremendous credit academically and athletically to this institution. It's tough to recruit here at Queens with the academic requirements they have. Most programs require 83, 84% averages, and Doug Hargraves has to get good athletes and good students, and he generally does. Second and 11 now for McGill with the clock running at 1:50. And Doug Hargraves is now walking the sideline, shaking hands with some of his seniors. Play comes up well short of the first down for McGill. Delando Hawthorne, the ball carrier, and it'll bring up another punting situation. So it's likely next week that we'll see McGill Concordian. What a great playoff battle that'll be. And the Bishop's Gators, should they finish first, will then take on the winner of the Ottawa-Carleton game tomorrow at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. Great playoff races throughout the country. But the Queens Golden Gales will be visitors. They'll need tickets to get into any playoff games this season. What a great day for that man, Steve Papp. Just all of 1992 with an injury. Comes back this year as the 5th-ranked punt returner in the country.
Let's go defense! We're gonna turn now, Mark. Go, buddy.
What is it?
Another guy who's come back from a major injury, Delando Hawthorne. He's had an outstanding afternoon. Andrew Moon in the punt. High driving kick taken by Morrison at the 40. And Morrison is brought down at the 49-yard line.
That crazy rookie running back. It's the crazy rookies.
Fun and games on the McGill bench, and why not? Can you think of anywhere this team would rather win the final game of the regular season than right here in Queens? 1st and 10. Holton remains in the game. Throws it over there to Chris Gear, and Gear laterals it to Ed Kidd. That interesting. More tricks from Doug Hargraves. That didn't net much. A first down at the 43-yard line, but 1:18 left to play in the 4th quarter. Hargraves knew it would be an uphill struggle this season. But next year, with the young players the Golden Gales have, the future looks pretty bright. The future is now for the McGill Redmen. Here's Jonathan Taylor, all kinds of room to run. Down inside the 25 to about the 23-yard line. A gain of 20 and another first down for Queens. Everything went right for them last year, but this season for the Queens Golden Gales, seems like everything's gone wrong. From the injury to Brad Elberg, right on down. We've got an injured player down on the football field. And as he's attended to, let's check the out-of-town scores. Bishops, final 34-7 over Concordia, so Bishops will finish first in the Ontario-Quebec Conference. Concordia will be second. And so the playoff matchups are almost set. All we need now is the final entry, and that will be decided tomorrow at Frank Clair Stadium between Ottawa and Carleton. And Olsen goes back to pass. It isn't appropriate that Jason Greenlease would get in to make the sack. Greenlease, who has had an outstanding day and has battled injuries, has been in the Queens backfield all afternoon. He comes up with the sack there, which will bring up a 2nd and 17 for the Gaels. Under a minute to play now in the 4th quarter. Olsen completes it to Chris Gear. Forced out of bounds in the 13-yard line with 46 seconds to play. Of resignation on Doug Hargraves' face says it all. He's got one more year to try to get back to the Vanier. Olsen now running for his life, throws to the end zone, and it's a touchdown. Dan McCullough. So something to cheer about at the end of the Queens season with 39 seconds to play.
And you know, Gord, it's nice that Queens did not give up. They started to drive the ball a little bit at the end. Dan McCullough in his 5th year out of O'Neill High School in Oshawa comes down with the last touchdown catch in his football career.
One final oil by Nabanrovic. How did I get that right yet?
You actually say it pretty well.
Oh, I get a lot of abuse from Queens grads.
Well, see, I'm a Western grad, so I think you say it great.
Rob Weir for the convert. 37-24 is the score, but only 39 seconds remain. Queens will attempt a short kick. Worked earlier, too, and Rob Weir ran right underneath it.
Dan McCullough and a few of the faithful Queens fans have decided to stay right to the bitter end.
McGill sends only one returner deep, anticipating the short kickoff. They got their hands team out there, the players who best handle the football. Dan Coderre will kick it off. And again, just tries to drive it high so someone can run underneath it, but Steve Papp is there for McGill. And he's chased out of bounds at his own 19-yard line.
Hey, Madonna! Right back.
36 seconds to play, and McGill can run it out here and get set for the playoff. As the playoffs approach in most conferences of the CIAU, what a battle it's been all season long.
Real many wheat, eh? Real many wheat.
Chad Lutke saying hello to his mom and dad out in Regina.
Orlando Hawthorne, the ball carrier, gets probably a couple. There's Franz Wellington, who's had a big day. He was part of a huge goal line stand.
That's ours, Queens! It's ours!
Out of town. St. Mary's rolling it up on Acadia now. 53-7. That's the final score. And the #1 ranked team in the nation scores a huge win. David Sykes was 27 of 29 passing in that game for 303 yards and 6 touchdowns. He completes 93% of his passes. That's a CIAU record. Imagine that, going 27 of 29 for 6 touchdowns.
It's incredible. But you know what's interesting there is the yardage. You know, it's not overly high. I thought it'd be like in the 400-yard range, completing that many passes. So obviously we're throwing nice controlled passes, short stuff. As we take a look at the kicker, Andrew Boone, who everybody says does a great Kate Hepburn impersonation. We didn't see him do it there, but he's saving it for the playoffs.
McGill turned the ball over that last play, so Lawton will go to the end zone, complete to his brother Paul. Ball fighting for the end zone is brought down to 3. 2 seconds left, and there will be one more play in the Queens University football season. Next stop, the postseason for the McGill Redmen. Boy, you talk about a huge boost at the end of the regular season. How about beating the #2 ranked team in the nation, Bishops, and then coming here and beating the national champion?
And especially after they came off of that awful loss to Concordia the week before. I mean, things just did not look very good for Charlie Bailey and his McGill Redmen. But they really rebounded in a big way against the Bishops Gators the next week.
So there'll be one more play here with 2 seconds remaining.
Hi, Mom. I know exactly. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
Hey, Dad. There we go. We finally got a hi, Dad.
Dan Crefo, big offensive tackle.
First and goal from the 3. One more shot for Queens. Steve Othen to Kozak. He's got a chance to throw to the end zone, and it's picked off. Jamie Murphy still going, and Ed Kidd brings him down and throws him down hard at the 42-yard line. Flags are down, but the football game is over. And the McGill Redmen, 1 year after having their season ended here on Halloween, come back and end the season of the defending national champion. And the McGill fans streaming onto the field to congratulate their football team. And the game is over. 37-24 the final. McGill goes to the playoffs, and the season is over for the Queens Golden Gaels on a tremendous football afternoon on homecoming weekend here in Kingston. A game that had a little bit of everything sees McGill come up with a second straight gigantic victory. We'll be back with our post-game activities. You're watching the CIAU live on TSN. For the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by Apple Auto Glass. Third quarter, a punting situation for Queens. And a fake special teams play had worked earlier. This time they tried the direct snap to Paul Kozan, who needed 10. He only got 8. It's a turnover on downs, and McGill went down to score the go-ahead point. And that is today's TSN Turning Point. A cash donation will be made to the Coaching Association of Canada for the training and development of Canadian coaches in amateur sport. On behalf of TSN and Apple Auto Glass, guaranteed the pick of the crop from coast to coast. Our Geo player of the game is Doug Noddy, McGill defensive back. And Doug, a year ago your season was ended here. How sweet is it to end their season on their home field?
It feels great. I mean, what we went through last year was just was unbelievable. We won the game and it was called back on a penalty, and we were really intense all week. And we came here and we wanted to end their season, and that's exactly what we did, and it feels fantastic.
Doug, do you think that this game is really analogous to your season, where you kind of, you had the down when you went against Concordia, then you had the up against Bishops, and now you seem to be back up again, but this game kind of mirrored your season?
Well, I definitely think so. I think there's a lot of pressure on us at the beginning of the season. Hello? Yeah, there was a lot of pressure on us at the beginning of the season to do well because we were in the rankings. When we fell out of the rankings, we just wanted to have fun. We went and beat Bishops, and now we beat Queens, and I think the momentum's just going to keep on going. We're playing really good football right now.
Doug, one of the other key turning points of this football game was a play you turned in early in the second quarter on a third down gamble when it appeared that Queens would score the touchdown. Tell us about it.
Well, what happened here is I was in man coverage, and I saw the quarterback scramble, and I went right to him, and I just stopped him before the goal line.
When you look at their inability to score on those two goal line situations and how well you played defensively, especially in light of them scoring later, how big were those two stands?
As it turns out, they were pretty big. But we had a couple of letdowns in the second quarter, and we got together at halftime, and we cleared it up, and we shut them out in the second half.
All right, Doug, congratulations. It looks like you've got Concordia next week. Good luck in the playoffs.
Thank you very much.
Doug Noddy, our Geo player of the game, and his team comes up with a big win here at Queens. And we'll be back with more on the CIAU and TSN in just a moment. 37-24, McGill wins it. The Redmen clinch a playoff spot, and the postseason begins next week in the Ontario-Quebec Conference, and perhaps McGill is number one after all. Here's the standings. Bishops finishes first, Concordia second. Will beat McGill next week. Those three teams are in the playoffs. Carleton and Ottawa play the traditional Panda game between the cross-city rivals tomorrow night. The winner of that game gets the fourth and final playoff spot. Queens at 2-5. Coming up, a Vanier Cup season misses the playoffs in 1993. Coming up next week, it's the Ontario-Quebec semifinal. The Bishops Gators home to either Carleton or Ottawa, and that comes your way at 1 o'clock Eastern Time next week. The CIAU on TSN. Today's game has been brought to you in part by Geo. Get to know Geo at a Chevrolet Geo dealer near you. And by Pepsi. Be young, have fun, drink Pepsi. For all of us at TSN, I'm Gord Miller. So long from Kingston.